Chapter 6011, For Your Face. Director Zhao and the others had spies, so the news of Yun Chuzhou going to Director Sun quickly spread. Director Zhao and the others were a little suspicious. Why did Yan Qingqing go to Director Sun? She actually stayed for a long time before leaving. Thus, the next day, Director Zhao and the others coincidentally bumped into Director Sunday. Director Sun, I heard that Yan Qingqing went to look for you yesterday. Why did that troublemaker look for you? Director Ren of the Alchemy Division probed. It's nothing much, just a casual chat. Director Sun laughed and said. Casual chat. The others naturally didn't believe it. Everyone was incompatible with each other, what could they talk about? Director Zhao's eyes flashed. Director Sun, we are all in the same boat. If you do something to let us down, don't blame us for not being polite. Director Sun recalled what Yun Chuzhou had said to him and the threat in his tone. His expression immediately turned ugly. Director Zhao, what do you mean? Don't tell me that I don't even have the freedom to talk to anyone. Or do you mean that once Yan Qingqing enters my courtyard, I have to chase her out? Director Zhao did not show any weakness and sneered. What are you in a hurry for? Are you feeling guilty? If you don't feel guilty, then tell me what you have been talking about. Those who are clear about things are clear about things, and those who are unclean are unclean. You can believe it or not. Since you suspect me, then don't look for me in the future. Director Sun said and left. Director Sun was furious. No wonder Yan Qingqing did not allow him to interact with Director Zhao. He was indeed a troublemaker. Did you all see that? He must have something on his mind. Otherwise, why would he be so angry? Director Zhao pointed at Director Sun's back and said. The other chancellors became more and more suspicious. Could it be that Director Sun had defected to Yan Qingqing's side? Director Zhao snorted, forget it. One more won't make a difference. One less won't make a difference. In the future, we'll just work together as one. The others nodded and then left. However, the news spread that afternoon immediately made everyone restless. What? The Academy wanted to promote a vice president? No wonder there was something wrong with Director Sunday. Could it be that he had already received the news? Director Zhao and the others were both angry and jealous. They began to make plans in their hearts. They first went to President Gu to test him. When they learned that the news was true, their attitude towards President Gu suddenly became ingratiating. President Gu saw that their attitudes were completely different from before and thought that the idea of stirring up trouble It finally made him feel proud. However, President Gu's attitude towards everyone was about the same. No one had received any useful information. President Zhou of the Spirit Energy Faculty pondered over it and felt that it was still necessary to pay a visit to Yan Qingqing. After all, she was now the beloved disciple of the two Grand Elders. If she could put in a few good words for them, their chances of winning would be much greater. As for the alliance that he had formed with Director Zhao and the others, they could only stand aside in the face of benefits. Oh, Marshal Nephew Zhou, why are you here? Did you come to visit me with a gift? Yun Chuzhou put her hands behind her back, looking like a wolf with a big tail. What could Director Zhou say? He could only take out a spiritual weapon painfully. Before he could say anything, it was snatched away by He Xinjiu. You are too polite. You came so easily. Why did you give me anything? Sigh, if I didn't accept it, you would have lost face. For your face, I reluctantly accepted it. Chapter 6012, The Ostracized Director Zhao. Director Zhou's face stiffened, but when he thought of his original intention of coming, he could only endure the pain and say, this is what I should do. It's good that Marshal Uncle Yan doesn't mind. Of course not. It's just that my money is a little tight recently, and I don't even have the money to buy buns, He Xinjiu said with a sigh. Director Zhou was so angry that he was twitching. Your money is tight. Are you shameless? Did you feed all the spiritual stones that you extorted to the dogs? If He Xinjiu knew what he was thinking, she would definitely tell him that she didn't feed the dogs. but fed the pigs. Chancellor Zhou had no choice but to give He Xinjiu a lot of spiritual stones. He Xinjiu immediately smiled like a flower. Martial nephew Zhou, I've always thought highly of you. As expected, I didn't misjudge you. Come, sit, have some tea. The two chatted for a while before Chancellor Zhou got to the main topic. Martial Uncle Yan, I heard that the academy is promoting a vice dean. I will ask Martial Uncle Yan to put in a good word for me. After the matter is done, I will definitely repay you heavily. Martial nephew Zhou, you are indeed smart. You have found the right person to look for me. To be honest, although Martial nephew Gu has some say in this matter, the ones who make the decisions are my two masters. My two masters love me the most, so in the end, it's up to me to decide who will be the vice principal. Yun Chujiu said smugly. Martial Uncle Yan is right. Then, I'll leave this matter to you. In the future, if you need anything, just say the word. Chancellor Zhou said in a fawning manner. Martial nephew Zhou, put aside the things you don't say. I heard that you guys have already discussed how to deal with me. Is there such a thing? Chancellor Zhou thought to himself, if a dead fellow Taoist doesn't die, this poor Taoist will take the opportunity to get rid of those few competitors. Thus, he added fuel to the fire and recounted the conspiracy that day. Yun Chujiu immediately slapped the table. This is really outrageous. From what you said, the culprit is Director Zhao. No wonder the two masters dislike him the most. He is indeed a black-hearted person. Let me give you a piece of advice. In order not to anger the two masters, you should pay less attention to Director Zhao in the future. Director Zhou repeatedly agreed. In his heart, he was determined to draw a clear line with Director Zhao so that he would not be implicated. Seeing that he was almost done, Director Zhou took his leave. Yun Chujiu took out a small porcelain bottle and handed it to him. This is the marrow cleansing and body strengthening pill that I obtained with great difficulty from my master. I will give it to you as a reward. Director Zhou was immediately overwhelmed by the favor. He did not expect to see money again. This troublemaker was not so hateful after all. Soon, Director Ren and the others also came to visit. The process was exactly the same. They voluntarily gave Yun Chujiu a generous gift and then left gratefully. Only Director Zhao did not come. Qingsheng, I heard that Director Zhao has been having a hard time recently. Not only did President Gu give him a hard time, but the other chancellors also opposed him. He really deserves it. Ding Wenru said gloatingly. Yun Chujiu was not surprised at all. This was all planned by her. Director Zhao's life was indeed a little hard. He really did not understand. They had originally agreed to form an alliance, but why did they exclude him in the blink of an eye? Although everyone was at odds with each other for the position of vice director, the other few were at least doing well on the surface. Why did they all have to target him? He also wanted to look for Yan Qingsheng, but he felt that he could not afford to lose face. Moreover, he felt that Yan Qingsheng would not help him at all. After all, he had offended her too harshly. He did not expect that Yan Qingsheng would take the initiative to visit him. Chapter 6013 Love is a deep responsibility. Director Zhao heard from the guards that Yan Qingsheng had come. The first thought that flashed through his mind was that she had come to add insult to injury and see him become a laughingstock. He snapped, I'm not going to see you. Yo, Martial nephew Zhao, it's been a few days since we last met. Your temper has grown. Even I, an elder, have to be refused entry. Are you trying to rebel? Director Zhao was livid when he saw He Xinjiu enter uninvited. If it were not for the two grand elders, he would have strangled her to death. What are you doing here? You are not welcome here. See you out. Director Zhao said in a bad mood. Martial nephew Zhao, you have really disappointed me. I wanted to talk to you about the deputy headmaster. Since you are so tactless, I will take my leave. He Xinjiu turned around and was about to leave when Director Zhao hurriedly said, Wait. He quickly waved his hand to dismiss the guards, and then asked tentatively, "What did you say just now? About the vice director? Could it be that the candidate has been chosen?" Yun Chujio glanced at him, shook her head and sighed, making Director Zhao's heart flutter. "Marshal nephew Zhao, I heard that you haven't been having a good time recently." Director Zhao's face immediately showed some embarrassment. "It's just as so. It's still passable. Let's not talk about this. Has the vice director's selection been decided?" Yun Chujio let out a long sigh. "Marshal nephew Zhao, do you know that there's a saying? Love is deep and responsibility is deep. The reason why the two grand elders beat you the most was because they had high hopes for you. To be honest with you, this vice director was tailor-made for you, but your performance has really disappointed the two of them." Director Zhao was immediately dumbfounded. What the hell? The two grand elders' favorite candidate was him? Beating him up because love is deep and responsibility? After a long while, Director Zhao asked with doubt, "Is what you said true?" "Of course it's true. Otherwise, why do you think those people isolated you?" "It's because they think you're the biggest threat." Yun Chujio's face was full of resentment. When Director Zhao heard that, he was immediately enlightened. No wonder President Gu and Director Ren isolated him. It turned out that they were jealous. Director Zhao only felt that his pent-up anger had been swept away. Even Yun Chujio became a lot more pleasing to the eye. In fact, this troublemaker was not so annoying. "Marshal nephew Zhao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but even if they are jealous of you, you should think of a way to build a good relationship with them. Otherwise, no matter how much my two masters think of you, you can't provoke the public, right?" Yun Chujio said earnestly. Director Zhao said somewhat helplessly, "It's not that I don't want to build a good relationship with them, it's mainly that they ostracize me. What can I do?" Yun Chujio sighed, "This is indeed a bit difficult. Generally speaking, outstanding people are lonely. For example, you and I are both like this." Director Zhao, Yun Chujio thought for a while and said, "The relationship between those martial nephews and me has been getting better recently. How about this? I'll be the host and treat you to a meal. When the time comes, I'll help you to make peace. Maybe it will improve." Director Zhao said suspiciously, "Let's not beat around the bush. I have been against you many times before. Why do you want to help me?" Yun Chujio sighed and said with a compassionate look, "My two masters often taught me to put the academy's interests first. Although we have some small conflicts, it is not a big grudge. I have long put it aside. In the end, it is because you are too outstanding. A tree stands out in the forest, and the wind will destroy it. What is wrong with you?" Chapter 60:14 Gratitude goes without saying. Director Zhao was so touched that he almost cried. He had been receiving cold words these few days. He did not expect that the first person who cared about him would be Yan Qingcheng, the troublemaker. It seemed that he had misunderstood her in the past. In fact, this troublemaker was actually good in nature. "Marshal Uncle Yan, I'll have to trouble you then. Don't worry, if I become the vice principal, I will definitely not forget your kindness in helping me." Yun Chujio nodded and then frowned, "Other things are fine. The main thing is that I'm a little short of money recently, so the standard of this seat might be a little low. You won't mind, right?" Director Zhao quickly said, "Marshal Uncle Yan, you're making peace for me. How can I let you spend money? Take these spirit stones first. If it's not enough, I'll make up for it." Another sum of spirit stones came in, and the smile on He Xingjia's face immediately became more sincere. "Marshal nephew Zhao, don't worry. Leave everything to me. I will go back and prepare. Set a date and I will get someone to send you an invitation." Under Director Zhao's grateful gaze, Yun Chujio walked out of his courtyard. Her heart was simply filled with joy. The plan was progressing very smoothly. As long as the fire was simmered down slowly, the deputy director would be hers in the end. She would find another opportunity to stroll around the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, save her cheap parents, and then have sex with the gigolo. When this fellow thought of this, she suddenly thought of a problem. Damn it, as long as Goei Batsao was around, it was impossible for her to have sex with the gigolo. This damned Goei Batsao. Recently, a certain grass that had rarely been scolded shook its leaves. Was she blaming it? A little girl who wanted to have sex all day long, how shameless. When Yun Chujio returned to the primeval institution, Chu Feng was waiting for her with his legs crossed. Dear disciple, you're finally back. Have you finished reading the sheepskin scroll I gave you 2 days ago? Have you learned all the talismans on it? Yun Chujio nodded. Master, I have learned it, but my cultivation is not enough, so I can't carve it out. Chu Feng frowned and said, I forgot if you didn't mention it. You said that you're quite smart. Why is your spiritual power so low? Have you been slacking off and not cultivating properly? Hei Xinjiu smiled bitterly in her heart. It was not that she was slacking off. No matter how hard she worked, it would be useless if the heavenly lightning did not strike her. However, it reminded her that she should go to Thunder Valley to collect rent when she had time. Chu Feng saw that Yun Chujio was a little depressed, so he quickly said, My good disciple, you don't have to worry too much. It's okay if your cultivation is low. It'll help you refine some good pills to cleanse your marrow. I guarantee that your cultivation speed will be faster. Yun Chujio was too embarrassed to discourage him. She nodded and asked, Where are Sister Ding and Master Zhuang? Although that girl can't be compared to you, her comprehension in refining artifacts is pretty good. Zhuang Mu found a place to teach her how to refine artifacts, Chu Feng said. As the two of them were talking, Zhuang Mu and Ding Wenru came back. Zhuang Mu seemed to be in a good mood. He thought that this disciple of his was a good-for-nothing. He did not expect that she was a good seedling for refining weapons. Not only did she have a good comprehension ability, but she also had great strength and was willing to endure hardships. This was a pleasant surprise. Ding Wenru's expression was also a little more relaxed than usual. She knew what she was capable of. She had borrowed the light of Qingqing to become the master of the two grand elders. Naturally, she had to work extra hard to not embarrass Qingqing. There was no need to thank her for her great kindness. If there was a chance in the future, she would definitely repay Qingqing properly. After dinner, Zhuang Mu said seriously, The two of us have something to do and will be away for a period of time. The two of you should cultivate well. If you have something to do, go look for little Gu Zi. Chapter 60:15 Hei Xinjiu held a banquet. Master, when will you come back? I can't bear to let you go. Yun Chujio said with tears in her eyes. This fellow was overjoyed in her heart. Once the two of them left, wouldn't she be the one with the highest seniority in the 10 Directions Academy? It was so wonderful. At most 2 months, at least 1 month. Zhuang Mu and Chu Feng did not know what she was thinking. Seeing how reluctant she was to part with him, they felt comforted and thought that this disciple was not taken in for nothing. The two reminded her for a while more before leaving. Ding Wenru looked at Hei Xinjiu, who was smiling like a flower. She suddenly had a feeling that the following days would definitely be very lively. 2 days later, President Gu and the 6 chancellors received Hei Xinjia's invitation. The main idea was to celebrate her success in becoming her master by hosting a banquet. President Gu felt that he and Yan Qingqing were on the same side, so he naturally agreed readily. The 5 chancellors also agreed in order to curry favor with her. Director Zhao even agreed readily. This was a banquet that Yan Qingqing had specially arranged for him. How could he not go? Thus, the next day, President Gu and the other 3 arrived at the primeval subdivision on time. The banquet was set in the courtyard of the primeval subdivision. The big night pearls on the ground were so dazzling that they blinded the eyes of the 7 people. This troublemaker had been crying poor all this time. They had never thought that there would be such a good thing. The table was already filled with dishes. They looked delicious and looked very sincere. Marshal nephews, I didn't expect you to be so gracious. I'm so touched. Sister Ding, quickly take the gifts from all of you. Seriously, just come, what else do you need? Although it's to celebrate the success of Sister Ding and I as master, there's no need to give such an expensive gift. President Gu, the 6 chancellors, who said anything about giving gifts? They actually had to accept gifts. However, seeing Ding Wenru coming over to take the gifts with a big smile, they had no choice but to give the gifts while gnashing their teeth. Come, take a seat. Don't stand on ceremony. He Xinjiu smiled brilliantly. De Hua's food expenses had been paid again. President Gu and the others were not in such a good mood. They counted on their fingers and realized that they had been cheated by this troublemaker several times recently. How shameless. Yun Chujiu pointed at the full moon that had just risen above her head. Today is a good day. The secular world calls it the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's a day for family reunion. Although we haven't known each other for a long time, our feelings are no. From now on, we will be a harmonious and beautiful family. Come, I'll drink tea instead of wine. Cheers first. President Gu and the others didn't want to brush off her good intentions. They picked up their wine glasses and downed them in one gulp. He Xinjiu poured herself another cup of tea and said, although we may have had some grudges in the past, it's just a trivial matter for a family to not speak of 2 families. Don't mention it again in the future. Come, let me propose another cup. President Gu and the others had no choice but to drink another cup. In the blink of an eye, He Xinjiu persuaded them to drink a few cups. After a few cups of wine, everyone felt much more relaxed and the atmosphere at the banquet became much warmer. However, Director Sun and the others still ignored Director Zhao. Director Zhao could not help but look at Yun Chujiu for help. Yun Chujiu nodded her head indiscernibly and said with a smile, in fact, apart from celebrating Sister Ding and me as master, there is one more thing today. Marshal nephew Zhao wants to explain the previous misunderstanding to everyone. He knows that he was wrong. He shouldn't have caused trouble for no reason. Come, Junior Marshal nephew Zhao, punish yourself with 3 cups. I believe that everyone will not hold it against you. Chapter 60:16 Happiness. Although Director Zhao felt that this was a little different from what he had expected, he could only put on a red face and punish himself with 3 glasses of wine. Director Sun and the others were a little nervous. How could this troublemaker speak up for Director Zhao? Could it be that Director Zhao had given her benefits? However, no one dared to offend He Xinjiu now, so they all laughed and drank a glass of wine, as if they were giving Yun Chujiu face. Yun Chujiu said a few more words of peace and then changed the topic. I know that everyone has some thoughts about the vice headmaster's matter recently. This is also a good thing. This shows that you are motivated and want to contribute more to the academy. Director Zhao and the others were exposed, and they could not help but feel a little embarrassed. It's good to have thoughts, but just thinking about it is not enough. You have to show results, so that my 2 masters and the headmaster can know who is the most suitable candidate. It's not just you. As long as people in the academy can contribute to the academy, have ideas, and have courage, they can all become vice presidents. So, you have to put your thoughts in the right place in the future. Don't let down the high hopes of my 2 masters. Dean, don't you think I'm right? Although President Gu felt that there was something wrong with these words, he was a little drunk now. He didn't think about it carefully and nodded, that makes sense. In this matter, I will treat everyone equally. Whoever performs well will be the vice president. Director Zhao and the others did not realize that something was wrong. They all swore to express their loyalty to the academy. Yun Chujiu quietly put away the recording stone in her sleeve. The vice president was already waving at her. In a few days, she would think of a way to buy the hearts of the people and dig a few more holes. Then, the vice president would naturally succeed. Just as this fellow was thinking happily, President Gu frowned and looked up at the sky. Director Zhao and the others also looked up. They saw that the full moon had already been covered by a large piece of dark cloud. Almost in an instant, a huge pressure enveloped them. It was difficult for them to breathe. What was going on? Everyone's drunkenness immediately dissipated a little. Could it be that a heavenly lightning was about to descend? Before the crowd had time to think further, with a loud rumble, a thick purple heavenly lightning descended from the sky and struck straight at them. Just as the crowd was in a daze, Yun Chujiu shouted, "Get out of the way. Martial uncle, I'm here to save you." As she shouted, President Gu and the others saw a figure tap the ground with the tips of his feet and charge straight towards the heavenly lightning. The thick heavenly lightning struck the figure and He Xinjiu fell to the ground with a thud. She immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. "Don't worry about me. Run." President Gu and the others were shocked. Even though the heavenly lightning wouldn't do anything to them if they were prepared, they were still touched by Yan Qingcheng's behavior. At this moment, another heavenly lightning struck. Yun Chujiu immediately jumped up like a rabbit and faced the heavenly lightning again. After being struck by the lightning, this guy spat out a mouthful of blood again and shouted at the top of his voice, "What are you still standing there for? Run! The 10 Directions Academy can't live without you. Sacrificing one of me will bring happiness to millions of families. I'm the elder and I'll take care of it." President Gu and the others were about to say something when another bolt of lightning struck down. He Xinjiu pushed away Director Zhao, who was closest to her, and said, "Junior nephew Zhao, I'm here to save you." Chapter 60-17 was blind. After being pushed away, Director Zhao watched Yun Chujiu being struck by lightning again. The lightning was so solid that not a single bit of it was wasted. Director Zhao was shocked. There was only one thought in his mind. Why did she save me? Why? He Xinjiu spat out a mouthful of blood and jumped to President Gu's side. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take them away." Before President Gu could say anything, Yun Chujiu pushed him away. "Be careful." President Gu, who was pushed to the side, was shocked to see He Xinjiu being struck by the heavenly lightning again. Before he could recover, he saw Yun Chujiu heroically push away Director Sun and receive a heavenly lightning bolt for him. Touched, Director Sun shouted in desperation, "Uncle Master Yen, let's retreat together." "That's right, Martial Uncle Yen. The heavenly lightning might not chase after us. Let's retreat together." The others also said quickly. He Xinjiu thought that whether the heavenly lightning would chase after them depended on whether she followed them or not. However, in order to win the hearts of the people and not to expose himself, this guy gritted his teeth and said, "All right, let's retreat together. Run." Therefore, President Gu and the others rushed out of the primeval subdivision. Soon, they tragically found that there was a string of purple heavenly lightning behind them. It seemed that they would not stop until they were struck to death. They were both frightened and confused. They had not done anything wrong. Why did the lightning bolts want to kill them? They were running in the direction of the square. They were afraid that they might accidentally hurt the other students. After all, the square was relatively empty. He Xinjiu was thinking about how to get rid of these unlucky fellows. If they continued to follow her, she would not be able to enjoy the hard-earned lightning bolts. When they were about to reach the square, He Xinjiu shouted, "This square is our ancestors' property. We can't destroy it like this. Let's run to the dock and lure the heavenly lightning into the lake." President Gu and the others were stunned by the heavenly lightning's pressure. In addition to the great fear, their minds were already somewhat stiff. Hearing Yun Chujiu's words, they subconsciously followed her instructions. Therefore, the few of them rushed out of the main gate of the upper house with a string of heavenly lightning and headed straight for the dock by the lake. Wu Yun in the sky was twitching with anger. He thought, are these few old men crazy? It didn't want to strike them, so why did it have to run with that wretched girl? After venting its anger, a few heavenly lightning bolts from the Wu Yun actually struck press. Naturally, He Xinjiu would not let go of such a good opportunity. She bravely took the few bolts of lightning for them. In order to make the effect more realistic, the guy was in a terrible state. His hair was burnt to ashes, and his clothes were covered in blood and dust. He was no longer human. However, his eyes were shockingly bright. I don't deserve to die. The academy cannot live without you. I'm an elder. I'll do it. Get out of the way. Uncle Master will save you. At first, President Gu and the others were skeptical and puzzled. Later, they were only filled with gratitude and self-blame. They had been blind to think that Yan Qingcheng was a troublemaker. What a kind and good girl she was. Ding Wenru silently watched He Xinjia's performance. She only had one word in her heart, admiration. The group ran all the way to the lakeside. He Xinjiu said righteously, I'll think of a way to lure the heavenly lightning into the lake. Take care of yourselves. Sister Ding, please honor Master for me in the future. See you in the next life. Chapter 60 Boiling prawns. Before President Gu and the others could react to what Yun Chujiu meant, they saw her jump into the lake with a thump, revealing her small head a few feet away. You bastard Yun, what ability do you have to bully a few old men? If you have the ability, come and chop me. Come and chop me. Are you cowardly? You coward. Come, if I'm afraid of death, I'll take your surname. Wu Yun was so angry that he was about to burst. This wretched girl was really hateful. He didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to chop her to death today. Thus, Wu Yun aimed at the place where Yun Chujia's head emerged and struck down several bolts of lightning. Very soon, a large part of the lake water was dyed red. A thought suddenly flashed through President Gu and the others' minds. It was over. Uncle Master Yen was dead for sure. President Gu immediately rushed into the lake to save Yun Chujiu. Ding Wenru was afraid that he would ruin Yun Chujia's plans, so she hugged President Gu. President, you can't go. If you go, won't King Cheng's sacrifice be in vain? You can't let her down. Otherwise, Qingcheng will die in peace underground. Besides, Qingcheng is the darling of Tian Dao. She has always been very lucky and her life may not be in danger. Don't be rash. She had just persuaded President Gu to stop when Director Sun and the others were about to rush into the lake again. Ding Wenru was so busy that her forehead was covered in sweat. She finally persuaded them to stop. She said until her mouth and tongue were dry. In the end, she pointed at Wu Yun who was still hacking at the surface of the lake and said, Look, the heavenly lightning hasn't stopped yet. This means that Qingcheng shouldn't be dead yet. The heavens will grant her good fortune. She will definitely be fine. President Gu and the others calmed down and felt that what she said made sense. If Yan Qingcheng had been hacked to death, this Wu Yun would have come and continued to hack at them or drifted away. He shouldn't have continued to hack at the surface of the lake. Ding Wenru was right. Yan Qingcheng had always been lucky. Perhaps she had another stroke of good fortune. Therefore, the few of them stared at the lake nervously, hoping for a miracle to happen. He Xinjiu, who was in the lake, activated the water repellent bead. She happily lay in the water to absorb the heavenly lightning, humming comfortably. This fellow discovered that being struck in the water was much better than being struck on the ground. The surface of the water could reduce a portion of the power of the lightning, and it would not be so dirty. It was simply a holy land struck by lightning. Moreover, some of the unlucky fish and prawns were directly cooked, and there was even food to eat. Although this fellow wished that he could roar a few times to anger Wu Yun, he was afraid that he would be exposed, so he could only secretly laugh. Wu Yun in the sky was trembling with anger, because when he saw the stinky girl below the surface of the water, not only was she completely fine, she was even eating the boiled prawns. It was indeed intolerable for Wu Yun. This damn stinky girl had really gone too far with Yun. She had to be struck to death today. However, even though it had almost used up all the power of lightning, it was still unable to strike He Xinjiu to death. On the contrary, it had struck many unlucky fish and shrimp to death. After He Xinjiu had eaten her fill, it had all benefited De Hua. Wu Yun had no way of dealing with Yun Chuzhou. He simply vented his anger on President Gu and the others, and used the remaining power of lightning to strike them. Although President Gu and the others were covered in dust and dirt, it wasn't a big deal, but Ding Wenru was unlucky. Her cultivation was much lower than President Gu and the others. Although she tried her best to dodge, she was still struck by the heavenly lightning and fainted. Fortunately, President Gu and the others came in time to protect her, or else she would have been burned to ashes. After Wu Yun vented his anger, he flew away in a fluster. Damned girl, this matter isn't over. Well, see. Chapter 60-19 was saving people even in their dreams. President Gu and the others first saved Ding Wenru, then looked at the surface of the lake. At this time, it was already dawn, and the thunder lasted for a whole night. Although they still had a trace of hope in their hearts, they felt that Yan Qingcheng was most likely dead. On the surface of the lake, there was only a gentle breeze that stirred up the sparkling waves. There was no movement at all. Director Zhao's eyes were red as he said, "I'll go down and take a look. If I live, I want to see the person. If I die, I want to see the corpse." Director's son stopped him and said, "You have the gold spirit root, and I have the water spirit root. It's better for me to go down and take a look." Just as the two of them were arguing, Director Ren pointed to the distance and said, "Look. The one lying on the back of that sawtooth lake dolphin seems to be Martial Uncle Yen." Everyone looked in the direction he pointed and saw a huge sawtooth lake dolphin swimming towards them. There was a person lying on its back, and from the looks of it, the figure was indeed very similar to Yan Qingcheng. Everyone immediately became excited and wanted to go into the water to save her. However, they were afraid that they would anger the sawtooth lake dolphin, so they could only watch nervously as the sawtooth lake dolphin gradually approached the lakeside. A few feet away from the lakeside, the sawtooth lake dolphin suddenly exerted force, and the little girl on its back was thrown to the lakeside. President Gu and the others quickly caught her and looked closely. It was the martial Uncle Yen that they had been longing for. However, Yan Qingcheng was now in a terrible situation. Her head had become bald, and her eyebrows had been chopped off. The clothes on her body seemed to be newly put on. Even so, fresh blood continued to seep out, and her face was as pale as snow. If it weren't for the fact that she was still breathing slightly, she would really be no different from a dead person. President Gu and the others hurriedly stuffed all kinds of high-quality pills into her mouth. The eyes of the few old men were all red. Martial Uncle Yen was doing this to save them. If it weren't for Martial Uncle Yen sacrificing himself for others and drawing the heavenly lightning onto himself, they would have been struck to death long ago. They were so heartless in the past. They didn't expect that not only did Martial Uncle Yen not hold a grudge against them, he even risked his life to save them. It really made them feel ashamed. After a long while, He Xinjiu opened her eyes and said with difficulty, You are also dead? No, I couldn't save you. You, MS. President Gu and the others were stunned at first, then they were so moved that they almost howled. Director Zhao said with 2 lines of tears, Martial Uncle Yen, don't worry. We are all fine. You are not dead. We are still alive. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. It's good that you're alive. After saying that, he choked and fainted again. Before He Xinjiu fainted, she caught a glimpse of Ding Wenru, who was unconscious, and her heart skipped a beat. However, seeing that she seemed to be fine, she held back her question. President Gu and the others were both touched and anxious. In the end, they had no choice but to carry He Xinjiu and Ding Wenru back to the upper house. After another round of busy work, they finally heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that their lives were safe. However, how did Yan Qingcheng keep her life? How did she end up being carried back by the sawtooth lake dolphin? The few of them could not figure out anything at the moment. They could only wait for Yan Qingcheng to wake up before asking her. No matter what, it was good that she was fine. While the few of them were conversing in low voices, they heard He Xinjiu shouting from the bed, Run! Uncle Master, I'm here to save you. Wang Banyun, come and chop me. At first, everyone thought that she had woken up, but later, they realized that she was talking in her sleep. They were so touched that tears streamed down their faces. Uncle Master Yen had saved them even in their dreams. Their previous actions were worse than pigs and dogs. They had let Uncle Master Yen down. Chapter 60-20 It was so hard to be a bad person after a while. He Xinjiu finally sobered up. President Gu and the others immediately greeted her warmly and almost dug out their hearts. It was rare that He Xinjiu's conscience was aching, so she said, "You don't have to feel guilty. In fact, I saved you for my own selfish reasons. Uncle Yen, you don't have to say it. We all know that you said it on purpose so that we wouldn't feel guilty." "Yes, Uncle Master Yen. We all know your painstaking efforts. You don't have to say anything. Just recuperate. Uncle Master Yen, don't we know what kind of person you are? Try this meat porridge. I cooked it for you myself." He Xinjiu, why did no one believe her when she told the truth? It was so hard to be a bad person. He Xinjiu had no choice but to drink a bowl of meat porridge filled with true feelings. Then, she asked, "Why is Sister Ding still unconscious? What happened to her?" "She was struck by lightning a few times, but it's not a big deal. She'll probably wake up soon," President Gu said. Yun Chuzhou finally put down her worries and sighed. "It's all my fault for not being able to protect all of you. Martial Uncle Yen, your words have made us ashamed. If it weren't for you sacrificing yourself, none of us would have survived." "Yes, Martial Uncle Yen, you are our benefactor. We will remember it." "Oh right, Martial Uncle Yen, how did you resist the heavenly lightning? Why did that sawtooth dolphin carry you back?" Yun Chujia's eyes flashed. She looked around and seemed to have something to say. President Gu's heart moved. He asked someone to close the door before asking, "Uncle Master Yen, what happened?" In the past, he was unwilling to call Yun Chuzhou Uncle Master Yen for the sake of his face. Now, he was willing to call her Uncle Master Yen. "I was afraid of being struck to death by the heavenly lightning, so I swam straight to the bottom of the water. Fortunately, I had a few waterproof beads on me, so I wasn't afraid of the water. I saw a stone cave at the bottom of the lake, and a voice came out from it. It said it was some kind of Tao Tai, and asked me to save it. It promised me a lot of good things." President Gu and the others' faces immediately changed. They all knew that there was a Tao Tai at the bottom of the lake. However, it had been locked up for so long, and this was the first time that someone had heard its voice. It was probably because the seal had been loosened recently, that was why it was able to transmit its voice. "What happened after that? Did you agree to it?" President Gu asked nervously. Yun Chuzhou shook her head. "I heard that the Tao Tai was an ancient ferocious beast and was a scourge. Of course, I wa. However, I felt that I could divert the heavenly lightning and calamity to the east. Therefore, I stayed there without moving. The heavenly lightning indeed struck the stone cave. That was how I managed to keep my little life." President Gu and the others finally understood. No wonder Martial Uncle Yen could save his life. It turned out that the heavenly lightning struck the seal of Tao Tai. "What's the matter with that sawtooth dolphin?" Director Zhao asked curiously. "Then I don't know. I guess God sent it to save me," Yun Chuzhou said blankly. In fact, the matter was like this. He Xinjiu was cooking fish and prawns with water to feed De Hua. The unlucky sawtooth dolphin was also knocked out by the heavenly lightning and was almost swallowed alive by De Hua. He Xinjiu felt that if she wanted to become the vice dean, she needed to take in a few underlings in Misty Lake. Therefore, she left the sawtooth dolphin alive and established a temporary contract with it. Chapter 60-21 Poor little cabbage. President Gu and the others could not guess the reason for her blank expression. They could only attribute it to her good luck. However, when President Gu thought about how the heavenly lightning had struck Tao Tai for such a long time, he felt a little uneasy. He said a few words to Yun Chuzhou perfunctorily and hurriedly left with Director Zhao and the others. When Yun Chuzhou saw that they had all left, she got off the bed to check on Ding Wenru's condition. This fellow felt a little guilty. Ding Wenru was completely implicated by her. After she checked Ding Wenru's pulse, she heaved a sigh of relief. It was just as President Gu had said. There wasn't much of a problem. She would probably be fine after a good sleep. On the other side, President Gu and the others checked the seal of Tao Tai through the array formation. They only heaved a sigh of relief when they didn't find anything unusual. Then the question came. Why did the heavenly lightning strike them? And why did they look so bitter and vengeful? What did they do wrong? They felt that they had not done anything immoral. The few of them were both confused and terrified. If the heavenly lightning was targeting them, how could they survive? President Gu immediately sent a message to Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu, but it did not succeed. They did not know where the two old men had gone. For the next 2 days, President Gu and the others could not sit still, afraid that another heavenly lightning would strike. He Xinjiu was almost better, but Ding Wenru had not woken up, but there was nothing unusual. He Xinjiu was anxious and guilty. Fortunately, Ding Wenru finally woke up on the 3rd day. Sister Ding, you finally woke up. You scared me to death. It's all my fault for implicating you this time. I'm sorry. Before He Xinjiu could finish her sentence, Ding Wenru interrupted her. Qingcheng, do we still need to talk about such formalities between us? If it weren't for you, I would have died countless times. Moreover, it seems that I've gotten a blessing in disguise. Yun Chuzhou immediately widened her eyes. What do you mean? Ding Wenru said excitedly, when Master Zhuang taught me how to refine weapons, he once sighed and said that although I have a fire spiritual root, the purity of my spiritual root is not high. I'm afraid that I won't be able to go far in the future. However, after I was struck by lightning this time, my fire spiritual root has actually become much purer. Moreover, there are faint signs of a breakthrough. Yun Chuzhou, this was the real daughter of Tian Dao. Just as this fellow was lamenting, Ding Wenru sat up and began to cross-legged meditate. She was really going to break through. He Xinjiu could only stand guard at the door to protect Ding Wenru. This fellow felt that he was as pitiful as a cabbage in the ground. She was putting on an act and trying to trick her. It was not easy for her to absorb some heavenly lightning and break through to the 4th layer of the spirit summoning realm. Ding Wenru was struck by the lightning and she was able to purify her spirit root and break through. It was truly infuriating. Could it be that she had committed too many sins in her past life and that was why she was being abused so inhumanely in this life? De Hua sensed her thoughts and raised 4 pig trotters to express his agreement. This was karma. It couldn't care less about the other victims, but it had been ruined by this wretched girl in her previous life. Not only had she been single for more than 10,000 years, but she had also given up her freedom and body. The sins that she had committed were uncountable. Of course, this fellow was only thinking about it secretly. He didn't dare to let He Xinjiu know. After all, he still had to rely on her to support him. He Xinjiu saw that Ding Wenru was about to break through. She pondered for a moment and gave up on the idea of pretending to have an epiphany. Every time she was struck by lightning, she would have an epiphany and level up. It was really a little suspicious. It would not be too late to look for an opportunity to break through in the future. Chapter 6022 Uncle Master Yan's request. An hour later, Ding Wenru's body shimmered as she successfully advanced. However, she continued to meditate. It was obvious that she was going to advance continuously. Although He Xinjiu felt a little sour, she was genuinely happy for Ding Wenru. She hoped that the people around her who were on good terms with her would become better and better. Ding Wenru had suffered a lot following her. Not to mention other things, just the abuse, contempt, and isolation were things that ordinary people could not accept. This was also one of the reasons why Gu Liani and Qin Linglong gave up on coming to the upper house. Moreover, Ding Wenru had helped her cover up a lot. Without Ding Wenru's cooperation, she would not be able to complete many things smoothly. President Gu and the others also rushed over when they heard the commotion. When they saw Ding Wenru's condition, they also felt sour in their hearts. They were also struck by lightning. Why did Ding Wenru break through one after another, but they were struck in vain? However, when they saw He Xinjia's miserable state, the sour feeling in their hearts instantly disappeared. Martial Uncle Yen was even more miserable than them. Ding Wenru's luck was really good. No wonder she was accepted by the two grand elders. She was indeed outstanding. Ding Wenru's breakthrough this time lasted for several hours, and only stopped after she broke through to the second layer of the divine summoning. President Gu and the others exchanged a few sour pleasantries before asking Yun Chuzhou, Martial Uncle Yen, "We originally wanted to contact the two grand elders, but we couldn't get in touch. What do you think of the heavenly lightning this time? We couldn't figure out the reason for the heavenly lightning." Yun Chuzhou touched her chin. Could it be that it came for the seal of Tao Tai? Did it miss? President Gu and the others shook their heads repeatedly. The heavenly lightning would not randomly strike the wrong place. If it missed, why would it chase after them? Yun Chuzhou looked at them meaningfully. If it's not for this reason, could it be that you have done something wicked and unethical? President Gu and the others shook their heads like a rattledrum. Although they had some thoughts, they had never done anything wicked. Forget it. If you can't guess, don't guess. It's not a big deal anyway. If there's a heavenly lightning strike next time, it'll help you resist it. Anyway, I seem to be able to resist it, Yun Chuzhou said casually. President Gu and the others finally realized what was going on. Huh. That's right. This Yan Qingqing had a fire spirit root, and her cultivation was not high. Although she had been struck quite badly, she seemed to be able. What was going on? Yun Chuzhou seemed to have seen through their doubts and explained, "The reason is very simple. I have a treasure that my master gave me for self-defense." Only then did everyone come to a sudden realization. They had just said that how could Yan Qingqing be able to withstand more strikes than them? So it turned out that she had relied on the treasure that the two elders had given her. Martial Uncle Yen, this time, I really want to thank you for standing up for me. If you have any requests, feel free to mention them. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do it, Director Zhao said sincerely. Yes, Martial Uncle Yen, you must not stand on ceremony. Our lives were saved by you. I will agree to whatever conditions you propose, Director Sun echoed. The other chancellors also echoed him, eager to dig out their hearts. Yun Chuzhou frowned and pondered for a moment, then sighed, "I am not greedy, nor am I greedy." The corners of President Gu and the others' mouths twitched. Don't you feel guilty for saying that? Yun Chuzhou continued, "And I am not greedy. I really don't have any requests. However, when I think of what happened at the banquet these 2 days, I feel that you are all red in the face because of the vice president. I am really worried that it will destroy the stability and unity of the academy. Therefore, leave the hot potato of the vice dean to me." Chapter 60-23, Worse than pigs and dogs. Hearing Yun Chuzhou's words, President Gu and the others were stunned. They didn't know what she meant. "Uncle Master Yen, do you want to say that you will decide who will be the vice president?" President Gu probed. He Xinjiu rolled her eyes in her heart, but she showed a helpless expression on her face. "I mean that I will be the vice president. I don't want to be the vice dean, but I've thought about it again and again. No matter which of the 6 martial nephews will be the vice dean, the other 5 will feel unbalanced. If they feel unbalanced, they will inevitably feel resentful, which will affect their stability and unity. However, the position of vice dean cannot be left vacant all the time. After a long time, the minds of the vice-chancellors and the others below you might be active. They must be settled as soon as possible. As your martial uncle, I will naturally help you solve your problems. Therefore, I will reluctantly assume the position of vice principal. President Gu and the others immediately widened their eyes and gaped. What? She wanted to be the vice principal? What kind of joke was this? How could a student like her become the vice principal? President Gu frowned. Martial Uncle Yen, your suggestion is inappropriate. You are still a student, how can you assume the position of vice principal? That's right, Martial Uncle Yen. Although you have good intentions, this matter isn't very appropriate, Headmaster Ren echoed. The others also echoed. They couldn't help but wonder in their hearts. Martial Uncle Yen had worked so hard to save them previously. Could it be that he was fighting for the vice principal position? If that was the case, he really didn't care about his own life. To think that they were so moved. It turned out that there was profit to be made. Sigh. You guys really let me down. I know what you guys are thinking. Do you think that I saved you all just for this vice principal? A sparrow knows the ambition of a swan. You guys can't even compare to a sparrow. You're just a bunch of moths. What status do I have? I'm the personal disciple of 2 supreme elders. Do I need the support of a position like the vice principal? If I wanted to extort favors in return, I would have just asked you to give me something good. Why would I need a vice dean who is famous but has no power? Unfortunately, my painstaking efforts were misunderstood by you to this extent. Forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it. Forget it, forget it, forget it. I will let you break your heads over this lousy position. Even if you beg me, I will not be this lousy vice dean anymore. I'll be whoever I want to be. Get out of here, don't be an eyesore here. Yun Chujia's face was filled with dissap. Her eyes were red as she turned around, leaving only the back of her head for President Gu and the others. Ding Wenru knew that it was time for her to make her appearance, so she angrily said, "You guys have gone too far. King Cheng's good intentions have been treated like a donkey's liver and lungs by you guys. If Qingqing wanted to be the vice dean, she could have just begged our master directly. Why would she have to sacrifice her own life in exchange for it?" Taking 10,000 steps back, wasn't she afraid that the vice dean would be struck to death by the heavenly lightning without being treated as such? How stupid would she have to be to do this? You guys should leave. Our primal institution doesn't welcome you guys, so don't come here again in the future. President Gu and the others thought about it and agreed. Yan Qingqing didn't know that there was a Tao Tai's seal at the bottom of the lake, so how could it be a plan? It seemed that they had judged a gentleman with their petty hearts. When they saw the back of Yun Chujia's bald head and her slightly trembling body, their hearts were filled with guilt and self-blame. They were simply not human. They actually used their dirty hearts to think about Martial Uncle Yen's painstaking efforts. They were truly worse than pigs and dogs. Chapter 60-24 agreed to become the vice principal. President Gu and the others looked at each other. President Gu said embarrassedly, "Martial Uncle Yen, we were wrong. We should understand your painstaking efforts." Director Zhao's face was full of shame. "Martial Uncle Yen, we have wronged you. You should be the vice principal." The others also echoed and agreed to let Yun Chuzhou be the vice principal. Yun Chuzhou turned around. Her eyes were as red as a rabbit's, but her tone was very cold. "How can I be the vice president? Just treat it as if I was talking in my sleep. You guys can go, I need to rest. Uncle Master Yen, we misunderstood you before. You should be the vice president." President Gu said hurriedly. Yun Chuzhou shook her head. "I, Yan Qingqing, have always been above board. I was wrong in thinking before so that I wouldn't be exposed. I won't be the vice president no matter what. You guys can leave now." President Gu and the others wanted to persuade her again, but they saw Yun Chujia's body tremble and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Ding Wenru hurriedly went forward to support her. Her eyes were red as she roared, "Get out! All of you get out! Qingqing has put in so much effort for you, but she has raised a bunch of ingrates like you. Ding Wenru helped Yun Chuzhou into the inner room and then kicked President Gu and the others out. Bang! The gate of the primeval institution was closed. Ding Wenru lowered her voice and asked He Xinjiu, Qingcheng, why didn't you agree just now? Don't you want to be the vice president anymore? He Xinjiu said indistinctly while nibbling on the spirit fruit, don't worry. They will definitely come and beg me to be the vice president. I still have to continue taking Qiao. Only in this way will they believe that I'm the vice president for their own good. Although Ding Wenru didn't believe it, she thought of Yun Chujia's great achievements and didn't ask any more questions. On the other side, President Gu and the others who had been kicked out all blushed and felt ashamed. Director Zhao and the others were filled with regret. How could they have wronged Marshal Uncle Yen in a moment of confusion? If she had really planned it out, why would she reject their proposal so resolutely? If she had known earlier, she would have agreed to it directly. At least she would be much better as the vice president than the others. President Gu was also very regretful. It was much better for Yen Qingcheng to be the vice principal than the other 6. Why didn't he react earlier? When they thought about how Marshal Uncle Yen was angered to the point that he vomited blood, they felt both guilty and afraid. If the 2 grand elders were to return, wouldn't they be skinned? After a discussion, the current plan was to think of a way to get Marshal Uncle Yen to accept the position of vice principal. Marshal Uncle Yen was the most soft-hearted. After a few more attempts of persuasion, she would be able to calm down and accept it. Therefore, for the next 2 days, President Gu and the others came to persuade her once a day. They were only a step away from kneeling down and begging He Xinjiu to accept the position of vice president. He Xinjiu still refused them sternly, looking as if her heart had been broken. It was not until the 3rd day, when President Gu and the others came to persuade her again, that she sighed, I am the most soft-hearted person. I have already made up my mind not to be the vice president, but since you are so sincere, in order not to make things difficult for you, I will agree to it. However, let's be honest. You begged me to be the vice principal. I didn't force you to do it. Don't go back on your words in the future. Of course. Marshal Uncle Yen, don't worry. We all know that we were wrong. We won't misunderstand you in the future, Director Zhao said with a confident look. The others also expressed their views. At this moment, in their hearts, Marshal Uncle Yen was a fair and kind girl. Whatever she said was right. Chapter 60-25 The death of Xiao Yanxiao. The next morning, an explosive news swept across the entire 10 Directions Academy. Did you see the announcement? That Yen Qingcheng from the primeval branch has actually become the vice president of the academy. This vice president is not only the vice president of the upper academy, but also the vice president of the entire academy. This is simply nonsense. That Yen Qingcheng is still a freshman, how did she become the vice president? You don't know this, right? That Yen Qingcheng is the disciple of the 2 supreme elders. Her seniority is 1 generation higher than President Gus. It's probably the help of the 2 supreme elders. She really got lucky. Shit, luck. She actually clung onto these 2 thick legs. In the future, she can do whatever she wants in the academy. When Xiao Yanxiao and Jian Zhuyu heard the news, they almost died from anger. They felt that this must be a rumor. This is simply impossible. How did that trash become the vice president of the academy? She must have used some unspeakable means to trick him. Jian Zhuyu smashed the things in the dormitory into pieces. Then, she took out a voice transmission talisman and sent a message to someone. Her face was full of ruthlessness. Xiao Yanxiao immediately went to see Vice Director Xiao. Second uncle, what's going on? How did that Yen Qingcheng become the vice president? Vice Director Xiao sighed. Time and fate. Lianxiao, you can't beat her. Don't provoke her in the future. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug said these words from the bottom of its heart. It wasn't that it was kind, but it felt that Xiao Yanxiao was too stupid, so stupid that it couldn't bear to look at her. Xiao Lianxiao wasn't willing to listen. She gritted her teeth and said, "No, I can't let that trash be so proud. I want to send a message to grandfather and ask him to find a way to vent my anger. I want to cut that slut into a million pieces to vent my anger and let her die a horrible death." The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor saw her stubbornness and thought, originally, it wanted to find an excuse to secretly turn into a bug egg. Now that this Xiao Lianxiao wanted to die, then it would send her on her way. Thus, he sighed. "Lianxiao, don't send a message first. In a few days, it will be a rest day. I'll think of a way to bring you back with me. There are some things that are better said in person." Naturally, Xiao Lianxiao couldn't ask for more. She immediately agreed and left. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug, on the other hand, explained the matter to Yun Chujiu through spiritual sense. Yun Chujiu was now the vice president, so there was no need for Vice President Xiao. After hearing the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug's plan, she pondered for a moment and said, "Think of a way to frame Jian Zhuyu and then find a place to hide. When the time comes, I'll use my identity as the vice president of the 10 Directions Academy to investigate the case and bring you back." After hearing Yun Chujiu's plan, the 1,000-year corpse turtle emperor bug could not help but curse in its heart. It thought that it was bad enough, but it did not expect this pervert to be even worse than it was. The 1,000-year corpse turtle emperor bug did as Yun Chujiu said and thought of a way to provoke Xiao Lianxiao. Sure enough, Xiao Lianxiao and Jian Zhuyu had a big fight. Although they did not fight, the commotion was not small. 2 days later, Director Xiaofu and Xiao Lianxiao left the Academy of 10 Directions. Although students were not allowed to leave the academy except for the trial, Director Xiaofu naturally had special privileges. No one had any objections to bringing Xiao Lianxiao home. However, no one expected that a few days later, the news of Director Xiaofu and Xiao Lianqiu's deaths would spread. It turned out that 3 days ago, the Xiao family received a distress call from Director Xiaofu. They said that they were besieged by the Jian family and then lost contact. When the Xiao family rushed to the scene of the accident, even their bodies were not found. Later, using the special methods of the Xiao family, they found the storage rings of the 2 demon beasts. Chapter 6026 The Xiao family's Jian family dispute. This matter could be said to have shocked half of the Divine Enlightenment continent. After all, the Xiao family and the Jian family were both large families, and each of them had quite a bit of influence in the Myriad City Alliance and the Iron Blood Alliance. Therefore, President Gu personally went to the location of the incident, and He Xinjiu, the newly appointed vice president, also eagerly followed him. In addition, several major forces also sent people over. If it weren't for everyone stopping him, Patriarch Xiao would have immediately gone after Patriarch Jian. What he loved the most was his granddaughter, Xiao Lianxiao, and his second son, Vice Director Xiaofu. He didn't expect that they would all be killed by the Jian family. How could he not be angry? Patriarch Jian was also very troubled. Although the Jian family and the Xiao family weren't on good terms, they really didn't do this. Family head Xiao, how could our Jian family kill Deputy Director Zaifa's uncle and nephew for no reason? There must be someone else who killed them. Family head Jian explained. Family head Xiao's eyes were red. Before my son died, he clearly asked us for help. He was ambushed by your Jian family. Even if you explain yourself, it's useless. Moreover, I heard that 2 days before they set off, Lian Qiao and your Jian family's Jian Zhuyu had an argument. It must be because of this matter that your Jian family harbored a grudge, so they killed my son and Lian Qiao. Today, you either hand over Jian Zhuyu and pay with your life, or wait to be exterminated. As the suspected, behind-the-scenes murderer, Jian Zhuyu naturally came. She immediately said with an aggrieved face, Senior Xiao, although I had an argument with Sister Lian Qiao, it was just a small quarrel. Moreover, our 2 families have always stayed out of each other's way. Even if I was muddle-headed, my grandfather wouldn't do such a muddle-headed thing. You are currently in a fit of anger. When you calm down, you will realize that something is amiss. If our Jian family were to make a move, how could we leave such a huge flaw? This is clearly someone framing our Jian family. Jian Ziyu's words were reasonable, but family head Xiao was about to go crazy from anger. How could he listen to her words? He immediately said angrily, "You ruthless bitch. You still have the audacity to quibble even now. We found out that a group of Jian family guards left the Jian family just 2 days ago, heading in this direction. You should know that your Jian family's sphere of influence is not here. Why did you send people here? What explanation do you have?" Jian Ziyu's expression immediately changed. She had mobilized those guards to find an opportunity to deal with Yan Qingcheng, but could she tell the truth? If she told the truth, she would not be able to stay in the 10 Directions Academy. No matter how scheming she usually was, she did not know how to explain herself at this time. Seeing her like this, the Xiao family head was even more certain that she was involved in this matter. He directly slapped Jian Zhuyu with his palm. The Jian family head naturally would not sit idly by. He immediately received the slap from the Xiao family head. Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, the representatives of the other forces tried to mediate. The Xiao family head's eyes were red as he roared, "Everyone, I believe that everyone already knows what is right and wrong. Today, I will say this. If the Jian family doesn't give our Xiao family justice, this matter will not end." The Jian family head didn't show any weakness. "Xiao, this matter has nothing to do with our Jian family. Don't slander us." Seeing that the two of them were about to fight again, the crowd had no choice but to separate them to prevent them from fighting again. President Gu could not help but feel a headache. Both the dead and the suspected targets were from the 10 Directions Academy. If it was not resolved properly, the Xiao family would inevitably vent their anger on the 10 Directions Academy. What should he do? Chapter 60-27 Diversion of Trouble. He Xingjiu secretly sent a voice transmission talisman to President Gu while everyone's attention was on Patriarch Xiao and Patriarch Jian. Just as President Gu was frowning, he noticed that the voice transmission talisman was trembling. He used his spiritual sense to scan it and found that it was sent by Yan Qingcheng. He couldn't help but feel puzzled, but he still sent his spiritual sense in. After finding out what was inside, his eyes immediately lit up. He said to Patriarch Xiao and Patriarch Jian, "Both of you, calm down first. As the president of the 10 Directions Academy, I am very sad that such a tragic incident has happened. But the most important thing now is to find out the truth of the matter. I know that because of the sound transmission talisman and the abnormal mobilization of the Jian family's guards, the Jian family will inevitably become the biggest suspect. However, have you two ever thought that you represent not only your own families, but also the alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Massacre Alliance? Once you two become enemies, the repercussions will be too great. If this matter was intentionally set up, wouldn't your two families become their chess pieces? Therefore, don't rush to come to a conclusion. It won't be too late to investigate after the matter has been thoroughly investigated." As soon as President Gu said this, the atmosphere at the scene froze and some people became excited. The Xiao family and the Jian family represented the alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Alliance. If the two sides fought, who would benefit? Although the 10 Directional Academy and the Divine Enlightenment Academy were also two major forces, their interests did not intersect with the alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Alliance. The 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall had a superior status and would not meddle in these mundane matters. Then, there was only one suspect left, and that was the Divine Devil Hall. Because of the division of interests, the Divine Devil Hall, the 10,000 Cities Alliance, and the Iron Blood Alliance had many small conflicts, but they did not expand. If the Divine Devil Hall was the one who did this, then wouldn't they be taking advantage of the situation? The Divine Devil Hall also sent a purple-masked man over. When he saw the subtle looks in everyone's eyes, he immediately had an ominous premonition. He had originally come to watch the show. Why did this fire burn onto their Divine Devil Hall? However, he couldn't say anything. After all, if he took the initiative to explain, wouldn't it be the same as saying that there was no silver in this place? He immediately hated President Gu who had spoken, but he didn't dare to do anything to him. Moreover, even if there was no such thing, the 6 major factions were still at odds with each other. President Gu could not help but feel admiration in his heart when he saw everyone's reaction. Martial Uncle Yen was indeed powerful. In just a few words, he had resolved the situation in front of him and had even drawn the fire onto the Divine Devil Hall. As the saying goes, if a fellow Taoist dies, the poor Taoist will not die. In any case, the Divine Devil Hall was not a good thing. Letting them take the blame was a good choice. Moreover, this matter might really have been done by them. Patriarch Jian glanced at the purple-masked man from the Divine Devil Hall, then cupped his fists towards Patriarch Shao. Patriarch Shao, what President Gu said is not without reason. We must not be treated as fools by others. I can swear in public that if this matter was done by my Jian family, I will be cut into 1,000 pieces and not have a good ending. Patriarch Shao had also calmed down at this time. After hearing what Patriarch Jian said, he thought about it again and realized that there was indeed something fishy about this matter. He said with a cold face, no matter what, your Jian family is the biggest suspect in this matter. I will give you 1 month. If you can prove your innocence, then it's fine. Otherwise, this matter will not be over. Although Patriarch Jian was very angry, he could only nod and agree. He also did not like Jian Zhuyu. If she had not found trouble to quarrel with Shao Yanqiao and sent guards, their Jian family would not have been splashed with dirty water. Chapter 60-28 Wu Zhao's eldest nephew Jian Zhuyu felt her grandfather's disgusted gaze. She was both afraid and hateful. She hated the dead Shao Yanqiao and hated the mastermind behind the scenes. She also hated Yan Qingcheng. She felt that if Yan Qingcheng had not provoked her, she would not have sent guards. Therefore, Yan Qingcheng could not escape the blame. There were people like this in this world. They would always blame others for the cause. Moreover, they even felt that they were very innocent and very reasonable. Since the matter had come to an end temporarily, there was no need for everyone to stay here. However, Master Wu Zhao of the 10,000 Buddhas temple frowned. He kept twirling the Buddha beads in his hand, Amitabha. This penniless monk feels that the corpse aura here is a bit heavy. It's similar to the corpse aura in the bloodthirsty insect valley. Hey Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. Did the old monk discover the eggs of the little grasshopper? The grasshopper's eggs were hidden deep underground. How could he have discovered them? Hey Xinjiu hurriedly asked the grasshopper to restrain its aura so that it would not lose its life. Master Wuzhou's words did not resonate with the others. After all, only Master Wu Ben cultivated Buddhist energy. The others did not notice anything unusual at all. Master Wu Zhao, these 2 storage rings must have been contaminated with corpse qi. That's right. Someone died here, so naturally, there's corpse qi. Master Wu Zhao frowned again. Could it be that he had sensed wrongly? That's right. This was just a dense forest. If there was anything abnormal, it would have attracted attention long ago. When he tried to sense again, he found that there was nothing abnormal. Perhaps the corpse qi he sensed just now was really the corpse qi left on the storage ring. Amitabha. Maybe this penniless monk sensed wrongly. I'm sorry. The crowd did not mind it. After a few polite words, they left the place one after another. Hey Xinjiu was afraid that the little grasshopper would be discovered by Master Wu Ben, so she told the little grasshopper to wait patiently until she found an opportunity to come and pick it up. The little grasshopper said aggrievedly, then you have to hurry up. I haven't absorbed corpse qi for a long time. I'm starving to death. Hey Xinjiu was so angry that she ate and ate. Other people raised helpers, but she raised a group of foodies. Who did she look like? Yun Chuzhou originally planned to look for an opportunity to come back and dig up the little grasshopper after Master Wu Zhao left. She didn't expect that Master Wu Zhao didn't leave even after everyone else had left. He put his palms together and said to President Gu, President Gu, I heard that there is a pond of smoke and cloud powder in the 10 Directions Academy. I'd like to take a look. Is it convenient for me? Hey Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. It was not convenient at all. However, she was saddened to hear President Gu say happily, I'd love to. You're most welcome. Hey Xinjiu cursed in her heart. This old monk was really shameless. Couldn't he just stay in his 10,000 Buddha sacred palace? Why was he wandering around? If he had been following her, how could she go back to pick up the little grasshopper? Sensing her thoughts, the little grasshopper cried, Master, you can't leave me alone. I'm just an egg now. Anyone can eat me. Please come and save me. Hey Xinjiu rolled her eyes and finally thought of an idea. Nephew Wu Zhao, I heard that the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall is very interesting. Can you tell me about the interesting things in the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall? Hey Xinjiu said with a smile. Master Wu Zhao staggered and almost threw out the Buddha bead in his hand. Master Wu Zhao and the others had long noticed the little girl behind President Gu and guessed her identity. However, no one revealed her identity and no one greeted her. The reason was very simple. This guy's seniority was too high. No one wanted to be shorter than her, so they pretended not to see her. Who would have thought that this guy actually didn't know what was good for him and took the initiative to strike up a conversation? He even called him Wu Zhao's nephew. Chapter 60-29, Cultivation isn't good enough. Master Wu Zhao didn't know whether to agree or not. He could only look at President Gu, hoping that he could help him out. President Gu understood what he meant, but he didn't mean to help. Are you kidding me? I already called you Martial Uncle, what else do you have? Seeing that President Gu had no intention of helping him out, Master Wu Zhao held the Buddhist bead silently and pretended that he didn't hear He Xinjia's words. He thought that Yun Chuzhou would be tactful enough to keep quiet if he did that. Unexpectedly, He Xinjiu jumped in front of him and said, Wu Zhao, didn't you hear what I said? Tell me about the fun things in the 10,000 Buddha's temple. Master Wu Zhao felt that his cultivation was not high enough. Otherwise, why would he want to kill the little girl in front of him? Ba. Guilty, guilty. Master Wu Zhao felt that the little girl would still be chattering if he did not speak. Therefore, he pressed his palms together and said, Ba. The 10,000 Buddha's temple is a place of worship. There is nothing interesting that Benefactor Yen said. Master Wu Zhao felt that he was too smart. He had actually thought of the title Benefactor Yen and solved the problem of the title skillfully. While he was secretly proud of himself, he heard He Xinjiu ask, Nephew Wu Zhao, according to what you said, isn't life in the temple of 10,000 Buddhas very boring? Master Wu Zhao echoed subconsciously, yes, it is indeed very boring. He Xinjiu clicked her tongue inside. Nephew Wu Zhao, I don't mean to criticize you as an elder, but your cultivation is still not high enough. You are a monk. How can you say that paying respects to Buddha is boring? You are blaspheming Buddha and slandering those who practice Buddhism. Master Wu Zhao, who was he? Where was he? What was he doing? How could he be labeled as such in his confusion? That's not what I meant, then what do you mean? Didn't you say that paying respects to Buddha is boring? Am I slandering you? Nephew Wu Zhao, I don't think you should go to the academy to see the smoke cloud powder lotus. You'd better go back to the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall and repent in front of Buddha. Master Wu Zhao was confused by He Xinjiu. He didn't know how to explain it. He didn't think so. How did it become like this in the mouth of this little girl? He Xinjiu looked at Master Wu Zhao's dumbfounded face and felt proud. You can't die of anger. Hurry up and get lost. I don't want to delay catching the little grasshopper. Just as He Xinjiu was feeling proud, she saw Master Wu Zhao put his palms together and said with an enlightened look on his face, Almsgiver, your words make sense. It seems that this penniless monk has misjudged you. Although the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall has strict laws, there are still some interesting things. I'll tell almsgiver Yen about them on the way. Hey Shinjo, he didn't leave in anger. Wasn't this old monk's temper too good? This fellow didn't dare to go too far. Although he had 2 masters to protect him, the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall wasn't someone to be trifled with. Yun Chujio was burning with anxiety. If this old monk didn't get lost, how was she going to receive the little grasshopper? She thought for a long time and finally came up with an idea. With a sorrowful expression, she said to President Gu, "President, Vice President Xiao's sudden misfortune is truly sorrowful. Why don't we pay our respects on the spot? It won't be a waste of our time together." Hei Shinjo usually addressed President Gu as president in front of outsiders. It could be considered as giving him face. Upon hearing this, President Gu agreed without much hesitation. Although Vice President Xiao hadn't been very good in the past, his recent performance had been pretty good. He hadn't expected that he would die right after turning over a new leaf. What a pity. Chapter 60:30 Looks silly. President Gu thought that Hei Shinjo only said a few words with a bow. Who would have thought that this guy would actually take out paper candles and other things, and even put up a small mound like he was serious? Hei Shinjo sighed. Although Marshal Nephew Xiao and I are not on good terms, I am an elder after all. I sincerely hope for his well-being. I didn't expect Marshal Nephew Xiao to die at such a young age. It really makes me sad. As he spoke, his eyes reddened, and he looked very sad. President Gu could not help but sigh in his heart. In the past, Vice-Chancellor Xiao had often made things difficult for Senior Marshal Uncle Yen because of Xiao Yanxiao, but she had let bygones be bygones. She was really too kind. While he was sighing, he heard Hei Shinjo mutter to herself, "It's just a pity that I didn't have the time to ask the monk to help him cross over. It's really a pity." When the guy said that, his eyes fell on Master Wu Zhao. Master Wu Zhao immediately had a bad feeling. Before he could think about it, Hei Shinjo said sincerely, "Master Wu Zhao, I'm sorry that I didn't ask for your help. Nephew Wu Zhao, you have nothing better to do. Why don't you help Junior Xiao cross over?" Master Wu Zhao felt that he was about to break his precepts. He really wanted to scold someone. It was true that he was a Buddhist cultivator, but with his status, was he going to let someone cross over casually? Moreover, the Xiao family would definitely organize a funeral. What was this little girl doing here? Master Wu Zhao was just about to find an excuse to reject when he heard that little girl say, "Sigh, forget it. I reckon that the Xiao family will invite someone to cross over. It's better not to trouble you, Nephew Wu Zhao. Well, since you are not going to help Junior Nephew Xiao, you can wait for us over there." Master Wu Zhao could not wait to be further away from the place and walked away immediately. Hei Shinjo felt that the distance was not far enough, but she could not say it out loud. Therefore, she began to howl. "My junior nephew Xiao, why did you leave just like that? How are we going to live now? My junior nephew Xiao, you left so miserably. You didn't even leave your corpse intact. How can I bear it? My junior nephew Xiao, take your time on the road to the netherworld. Be careful not to fall. Otherwise, you will be reincarnated as a pig in your next life." The corner of President Gus' mouth was twitching non-stop. He could not stand it any longer. "Junior Uncle Yen, is that okay?" Hei Shinjo wiped her tears carelessly. "What's fine about it? I still need to talk to junior nephew Xiao for a while. Take the others and wait by the side. My junior nephew." What a joke. If he continued to listen, he might laugh out loud. That would be awkward. Seeing that President Gu had come over, Master Wu Zhao walked further away tacitly. Master Wu Zhao looked at the crying Hei Shinjo and asked President Gu tentatively, "This new disciple of the 2 grand elders of the 10 Directions Academy is really, really special." President Gus' face stiffened and he said dryly, "Although Senior Uncle Yen is a bit out of character, she is very kind. I heard that she became the vice president of your academy." Isn't she still a student? How did she become the vice president? Master Wu Zhao asked curiously. Although Uncle Master Yen is still a student, he has a good view of the big picture. That's why we chose her to be the vice president, President Gu said vaguely. Seeing that Master Wu Zhao didn't want to say more, Master Wu Zhao didn't ask further. However, he thought that President Gu was quite smart in the past. Why did he look silly now? Chapter 60:31 did not believe a single word. He Xinjiu caught a glimpse of President Gu and Master Wu Zhao from the corner of her eye. Using the cover of her sleeve, she put the little grasshopper egg that had rolled up with great difficulty into the spirit beast bag. Although this thing should be called a worm egg, it looked no different from an ordinary spirit beast egg. However, the eggshell was black, like a coal ball. He Xinjiu did not have the time to look carefully at the grasshopper egg. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Master Wu Zhao did not have any reaction from the corner of her eye. The guy howled a few more times, burned a few pieces of paper, and stood up. The guy walked to President Gu and the others with red and swollen eyes. President Gu was about to comfort her, but she said, "President Gu, I'm sorry for your loss. I believe that junior nephew Xiao doesn't want us to be too sad. If we break down because of our sadness, junior nephew Xiao will feel uneasy. Therefore, we have to keep our spirits up. The dead have passed, and life still has to go on. We still have to move on." President Gu, seeing this, Master Wu Zhao thought that this little girl was quite capable. She had been howling so miserably just a moment ago, but now it seemed that nothing had happened. With the spiritual beast bag isolating them, He Xinjiu was not afraid that Master Wu Zhao would discover the corpse she leaked out from the little grasshopper egg. Thus, it was much easier for her to walk. Everyone left the no-fly zone and returned to the 10 Directions Academy by flying spiritual device. He Xinjiu ate a few spiritual fruits to replenish her strength. Then, her gaze fell on Master Wu Zhao, who was talking to President Gu. This fellow rolled his eyes a few times and felt that it was not a bad thing for Master Wu Zhao to go to the 10 Directions Academy. She was worried that she could not get along with the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, but this old monk came to her own door. It was really a good time. Master Wu Zhao could not help but shiver. Why did he feel that the little girl looked at him like a hungry wolf looking at meat? Master Wu Zhao, this is your first time to visit our 10 Directions Academy, right? When we arrive at the academy, I will personally act as your guide. I guarantee that this trip will not be in vain, He Xinjiu said with a smile, like a wolf with a big tail. Master Wu Zhao's heart skipped a beat. This little girl had called him Nephew Wu Zhao before. Why did she call him Master Wu Zhao now? Could it be that she was holding back some bad water? Master Wu Zhao did not believe a single word that President Gu said about a kind and good girl. Because he had finally sorted out the previous. He had only said that there was nothing interesting in the 10,000 Buddha sacred hall, but this little girl had labeled him as a blasphemer of Buddha. How could he be a kind person? Thank you for your kind intentions, almsgiver Yen, but this penniless monk only wants to study the Buddhist theories beside the misty cloud pink lotus. I won't trouble you, almsgiver Yen. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes. It seemed that the old monk had become wary of her. It was all because of that damn little grasshopper. At this moment, the little grasshopper's sobbing voice came from her spiritual perception. Master, help! Help! I'm going to die from egg breakage. He Xinjiu sent her spiritual perception into the spirit beast bag and saw that Buttface and the others were playing with a ball. Yes, the little grasshopper egg was that ball. Buttface and the others had long disliked the little grasshopper, but it had been possessing Director Xiophas' body, so they had no way to teach it a lesson. Now that they finally had a chance, they naturally wouldn't let it go. The little grasshopper cried out shrilly, Master, help, help! If I keep kicking, I'll give birth prematurely. He Xinjiu. Chapter 60:32 was for idiots, right? He Xinjiu stopped Buttface and the others. Only then did the little grasshopper egg fall to the ground in grievance. Sha Mo snorted coldly, "Little girl, you are really unlucky. It was not easy for you to contract a 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor insect, but you were infected with corpse chi. Now, you are even more unlucky. This 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor insect has turned into an egg and is completely useless. Ha ha ha, this is karma." Although Yun Chuzhou had cut off Sha Mo's spiritual sense, with Dog 2 as the snitch, Sha Mo's words were transmitted to He Xinjia's ears without missing a single word. He Xinjiu curled her lips. Sha Mo, this old fool, still didn't know that the corpse chi in her body had been dissolved by Goei Batsao. If he was willing to make sarcastic remarks, then so be it. He Xinjiu didn't mind, but it didn't mean that Dog 2 and the others didn't mind. They immediately beat Sha Mo up, and even the little grasshopper egg knocked Sha Mo a few times with all its strength. Qi Ying, who was in the corner, felt that the Sha Mo was simply stupid. It was simply looking for trouble. Wasn't it good to be alive? After He Xinjiu finished dealing with the matters in the spirit beast bag, her attention returned to Master Wu Zhao. Since this old monk was on guard, she couldn't be too hasty. It was better to take things slowly. Therefore, for the next 2 days, He Xinjiu was very warm and well-behaved. Master Wu Zhao could not help but wonder why this little girl was so different from before. Could it be that she had been overstimulated because of the death of Vice Director Xiaofu, and now she had returned to normal? After everyone returned to the academy, although the Yenyun pink lotus that Master Wu Zhao wanted to see was in the lower house, they were first arranged to receive her in the upper house. When Master Wu Zhao saw that Director Zhao and the others were calling Yun Chuzhou Uncle Master Yen affectionately, he was very puzzled. Were these people really willing to take a little girl as their Uncle Master? And they even gave her such a good position as Vice Director. Thus, while Master Wu Zhao and Director Zhao were chatting at the welcome banquet, he probed, "How did that little girl get the position of Vice Director? Could it be that the 2 Grand Elders forced you to agree?" Director Zhao's old face, which was originally smiling warmly, immediately drooped down. "Master Wu Zhao, what are you talking about? We were all willing to let Marshal Uncle Yen be the Vice Director. What does it have to do with the 2 Grand Elders? To think that our Uncle Master Yen specially took care of us and treated you well. I didn't expect you to look at our Uncle Master Yen like th. Master Wu Zhao, these people from the 10 Directions Academy were all fucking idiots, right? Ba, Sin. Director Zhao did not care about him. He stood up and changed his position, leaving Master Wu Zhao in the same spot. Master Wu Zhao was speechless. He was just curious, so he asked a few more questions. Was it necessary? Fortunately, Director Sun sat next to him, which eased the awkward situation a little. Master Wu Zhao, Director Zhao is just like that. Don't lower yourself to his level. By the way, why is he giving you a look? Director Sun asked curiously. Master Wu Zhao thought that there was finally a normal person in the 10 Directions Academy, so he said, "I didn't say anything. I just wanted to ask how that little girl Yen Qingqing became the Vice Director. Did the 2 Grand Elders force you to agree?" The enthusiasm on Director Sun's face immediately turned into ice. Master Wu Zhao, your words are a bit too much. No wonder Director Zhao fell out with you. Senior Uncle Yen didn't want to be the vice principal at first, but she only agreed after our repeated requests. How can she force our words? Since you don't know how to speak, you should speak less in the future. Master Wu Zhao. Chapter 60-33 Uncle Master Yen, someone is slandering you. Master Wu Zhao was really curious, so he didn't care about Director Sun's ugly face and asked, "Then tell me, why do you insist on making her Vice Director?" He didn't believe President Gus' words about seeing the big picture. There must be another reason behind it. Master Wu Zhao wasn't usually so tactless and gossipy, but he was really curious. In addition, he had been called Wu Zhao's nephew by He Xinjiu and reprimanded. He was more or less displeased and wanted to get back at her. Director Sun glanced at Master Wu Zhao and said, Senior Uncle Yan's seniority is higher than ours, and he is kind. Isn't it natural for him to be the deputy director? What's so strange about that? Master Wu Zhao, which of these people saw that little girl as kind? However, it was not appropriate for him to ask any more questions. He could only change the topic stiffly and talk about other things. After the banquet ended that day, Director Zhao and Director Sun came to Yunchujiu to complain and scolded Master Wu Zhao. Tui! What the heck? That old monk came to our place to look at the Yenyun powder lotus. He knows his place and even slandered you, Senior Uncle Yen. I think we should just kick him out. That's right. That old monk is obviously not a good person. He doesn't have the slightest compassion of a monk. We can just find an excuse to kick him out. Hei Xinjiu comforted the two of them and gave each of them a pill. Only then did Director Zhao and Director Sun leave happily. Just as the two of them left, Director Ren of the Alchemy Division came. Martial Uncle Yen, I have something to report to you, Director Ren said ingratiatingly. He knew that he had offended Hei Xinjiu many times in the past, so he had come to Yunchujiu many times recently to build a good impression of her. What is it? Yunchujiu asked after she let him sit down. Headmaster Ren said angrily, didn't you go out with the headmaster these 2 days? Superintendent Zhang of our alchemy division found me and said a lot of slander to you. It's really outrageous. He also showed me the shadow stone that you participated in the assessment. He used it to prove that you were a liar who came to the 10 Directions Academy with bad intentions and a big conspiracy. Hei Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. She had forgotten about Superintendent Zhang, but she still looked calm. Oh. How did you deal with it? Chancellor Ren snorted. How could I be as short-sighted as him? Back then, Martial Uncle Yen had cooperated with him even though he knew it was an illusion array. That meant that Martial Uncle Yen had a good view of the big picture. In order to avoid any mistakes in the assessment, he had PR. However, not only did he not understand your painstaking efforts, but he also poured dirty water on you. How outrageous! I immediately dismissed his position as the superintendent of the academy. This time, I came to ask for your advice. Should I directly kick him out of the 10 Directions Academy? Hei Xinjiu touched her nose. That martial nephew Ren. Although that Superintendent Zhang is a little petty, but his motive is also for the good of the academy. I think we should forget about this matter. Headmaster Ren looked at Yunchujiu with even more admiration. Martial Uncle Yen, you are too kind. He slandered you like this, and you still plead on his behalf. You are really a role model for us. Cough cough. Cough cough. Hei Xinjiu almost choked to death on her own saliva. It was rare for her conscience to hurt. These old men had been brainwashed too thoroughly by her. They had lost even the most basic concept of right and wrong. Chapter 6034 was different from the past. Chancellor Ren expressed his admiration for Hei Xinjiu again. In the end, he got a pill and left happily. Ding Wenru opened her mouth wide and gave Hei Xinjiu a thumbs up. Qingcheng, I admire you so much. They hated you so much before. Why are you so obsequious now? Yunchujiu put her hands behind her back and pretended to be profound. It can't be helped. I'm so outstanding. They were all convinced by my personal charm. Ding Wenru, personal charm. It was more like a conspiracy. The next morning, President Gu personally sent Master Wu Zhao to the lower house. Hei Xinjiu also went on the boat without an invitation. This fellow was now the vice president, so the rules of the academy naturally did not restrict her. It was simply unimpeded. When she arrived at the lower house, President He of the lower house had already led a group of lecturers to wait respectfully. Everyone looked at Hei Xinjiu, who had a pretentious look on her face, and their feelings were extremely complicated. Who would have thought that a year ago, this fellow was still an audit student of the lower house, but now he had become the disciple of two supreme elders, and even became the vice president of the academy. It was really different from the past. Hei Shinjo nodded to the crowd. She felt as if she had returned home in glory, and her heart was filled with joy. Although this fellow really wanted to show off, but thinking of the purpose of this trip, she could only give up this plan. Anyway, there was still time in the future, and she would have plenty of opportunities to come to the lower house to show off in the future. President He accompanied them to the misty cloud pink lotus pond. Previously, because Yuan Hui wanted to frame Yun Chujio and the others, he had planted root eroding powder in the lotus pond. A portion of the misty cloud pink lotus had been lost. After a year of recuperation, it had recovered its former beauty. Master Wu Zhao looked at the lotus pond in front of him. The cowardice he had suffered in the past 2 days had finally lessened a lot, and his state of mind had also calmed down a lot. Ba, President Gu, everyone, this penniless monk will be meditating and studying here for a few days. I don't need you to accompany me, Master Wu Zhao clasped his hands together and said courteously. President Gu did not intend to accompany him here. After exchanging a few polite words and exhorting President He was about to turn around and leave when he heard Hei Shinjo say, President, Master Wu Zhao is a guest. How can there be no one to accompany him? All of you are busy. I have nothing to do on my left and right. I will stay here to accompany Master Wu Zhao. Before President Gu could reply, Master Wu Zhao said hurriedly, I appreciate Benefactor Yan's kindness, but, before he could finish his sentence, Hei Shinjo interrupted him, Master Wu Zhao, I know that you are being polite to me. As the saying goes, a guest should follow the host. Don't decline it. President, you can all leave. I promise that I will be able to entertain Master Wu Zhao well. Martial nephew He, you should also go and do your work. Don't disturb us during meditation. Just come and deliver the meal on time. After being called martial nephew He, President He's body immediately trembled. He did not have the awareness of Director Zhao and the others. He wished that he could immediately stay away from Hei Shinjo, who pretended to be a big-tailed wolf. Previously, when Superintendent Zhang wanted to expose Hei Shinjo, he had even tried to dissuade him. After all, the two grand elders had both accepted Yan Qingcheng as their disciple. How could there be anything bad? However, Superintendent Zhang was determined to go ahead and expose her. In the end, he was dismissed. He did not know if he could keep his position as a lecturer. Therefore, even though he knew that Hei Shinjo was full of bad intentions, he did not dare to say anything. After all, things were different now. This person's backer was too strong. After President Gu and the others left, Master Wu Zhao sat cross-legged on the futon and meditated. He closed his eyes and chanted Buddhist scriptures, ignoring Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo rolled her eyes and said to Master Wu Zhao mysteriously, Master Wu Zhao, have you seen Buddha lotus? Chapter 60:35 would not let her have her way. Master Wuzho's eyelids fluttered slightly, but he did not open them. He thought that this little girl must have deliberately said this topic to attract his attention. He could not be fooled. Although they had not been in contact for a long time, Master Wu Zhao still felt that the little girl in front of him was very scheming. If she was not scheming, how could she have become the deputy headmaster from the audience of the lower house of the 10 Directions Academy in such a short time? If she was not a scheming person, why would Director Zhao and the others be so protective of her? He was not the fool from the 10 Directional Academy. He had his own judgment. No matter what this little girl was up to, he would not let her succeed. Seeing that Master Wu Zhao did not say anything, Yun Chujio said smugly, It seems that you have not seen it, but I have. And there are a lot of them. Master Wu Zhao sneered in his heart. What a bunch of nonsense. The Buddhist lotuses had been extinct for a long time. Not to mention a lot of them, none of them existed. However, he suddenly remembered the little Buddha of loneliness that Yin Chang and the other two had talked about. It was said that they had seen several Buddhist lotuses bloom in the bitter Zen sect at that time. However, with the death of the little Buddha of loneliness, those Buddhist lotuses disappeared in an instant. Master Wu Zhao was skeptical about this. He felt that Yin Chang and the other two were not knowledgeable enough to see the lotus flowers. It might even be an illusion. Seeing that Master Wu Zhao was still ignoring her, He Xinjiu did not say anything else. Seeing that she had finally stopped, Master Wu Zhao began to recite the scriptures silently, pretending that she was not a person. He Xinjiu did not expect to fool Master Wu Zhao right away. She held her chin and thought about her next step. Although she had become the vice president, she didn't have any real power. She had to think of a way to get some real power. Besides, when the two old men came back, she had to consolidate her status as her beloved disciple so that she wouldn't be ostracized if her identity was exposed in the future. She could imagine that President Gu and the others would be furious when they found out that she had a heavenly thunder spirit root. They might even gang up on her. This fellow could not help but shiver at the thought of this and decided not to think about this terrible thing anymore. This fellow's gaze fell on the lotus pond and decided to pick a few lotus pods and eat some lotus seeds to calm himself down. Therefore, this fellow untied the ropes of the small boat in the lotus pond and rowed into the lotus pond. Master Wu Zhao heard the movement and opened his eyes to see her like this. He could not help but wonder what this little girl wanted to do. Seeing He Xinjiu pick a bunch of lotus seeds, he couldn't help but frown. However, the misty cloud pink lotus was the property of the 10 Directions Academy, so he couldn't say anything. Soon, He Xinjiu carried the lotus seeds to the shore with a smile. Master Wu Zhao, do you want to eat the lotus seeds? Master Wu Zhao, what a waste of a heavenly gift. The lotus seeds of the misty cloud pink lotus were excellent ingredients for alchemy. How could she use them as snacks? Seeing that Master Wu Zhao did not say anything, He Xinjiu did not stand on ceremony and began to eat happily. Master Wu Zhao cursed in his heart. He did not know if the 2 grand elders of the 10 Directions Academy had bad eyesight. This little girl only knew how to eat, drink and have fun all day long. Other than scheming, she had no other advantages. How did she catch the eyes of those two? Just as Master Wu Zhao was cursing in his heart, he heard He Xinjiu yawn, Master Wu Zhao, you are indeed an eminent monk. I haven't been able to sleep for the past few days. Now that I hear your chanting, I immediately feel sleepy. Keep reading. Don't stop, or I won't be able to sleep well. Chapter 60-36 Sweet Date Master Wu Zhao almost died from anger when he heard He Xinjiu's words. Was he reciting sutras to give her a peaceful sleep? This little girl was too crafty. Just as he was about to say something, he saw that little girl take out a small tent and actually burrow into it to sleep. Master Wu Zhao felt indignant and even mispronounced the sutras. He hurriedly collected his thoughts. Ba. Sin, sin. At this moment, he heard a voice from inside the tent, Master Wu Zhao, don't stop. Wait until I wake up. Master Wu Zhao felt that his cultivation was most likely not at home. Otherwise, why would he want to curse? It was a daily task to recite the Buddhist scriptures, but now, he felt that he was being forced to do so. Not only was his state of mind not at peace, it was even getting more agitated. In the next 2 days, He Xinjiu caused a lot of trouble for Master Wu Zhao. Sometimes, Master Wu Zhao wanted to rest for a while, but he was so agitated by He Xinjiu that he could only continue to recite the scriptures. There were a few times that Master Wu Zhao wanted to leave directly, but he could not bear to give up this opportunity to study the smoke and cloud powder lotus, so he could only endure it. His impression of He Xinjiu became even worse. He felt that she was an annoying person, and he wished that she would immediately disappear from his sight. On this day, Master Wu Zhao frowned when he saw Yun Chujiu approaching him again. Master Wu Zhao, are you annoying me? He Xinjiu blinked and asked. Master Wu Zhao glanced at her but didn't say anything. He thought to himself, don't you know what you are doing? He Xinjiu gave him a thumbs up. Master Wu Zhao, you are indeed an eminent monk of the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall. I have been deliberately making you unhappy these few days just to see what you will do. If it were anyone else, they would have cursed at you a long time ago. But you are unmoved. I admire you very much. Master Wu Zhao was dazed. No wonder the little girl had been making a fuss. She was testing him. Master Wu Zhao could not help but feel a hint of pride. His self-cultivation skills had always been outstanding in the 10,000 Buddha's temple. He deserved her praise. Master Wu Zhao, I heard people talking about you before, and I was a little indignant, so that's why I made such a fuss. Now it seems that I'm really short-sighted. You are indeed worthy of everyone's praise. Please forgive me if there's anything wrong a few days ago. Yun Chuzhou said sincerely, with a sincere expression on her face. The sweet date given after being slapped was naturally exceptionally sweet. When Master Wu Zhao saw He Xinjia's sincere apology, he felt extremely comfortable in his heart. Benefactor Yan, you don't have to be like this. We monks are benevolent and joyful, and compassionate to relieve suffering. Naturally, we won't take such a small matter to heart. Master Wu Zhao is indeed magnanimous, making me feel ashamed. He Xinjiu expressed her guilt again, and at the same time, she praised Master Wuzhou's bodhisattva heart. Master Wu Zhao felt more comfortable than ever. He didn't even hate the little girl anymore. He Xinjiu changed the topic and said, Master Wu Zhao, you are very knowledgeable. Do you think there is a Buddha lotus in this world? Master Wu Zhao was in a good mood, so he said, although Buddha lotus used to exist, its beauty has long been extinct. But, I've seen the Buddha lotus with my own eyes in the Chongshao continent before. During the Dharma assembly of the 10,000 Buddhas, the lonely little Buddha turned his Buddha power into a Buddha lotus and even made soup for us to drink. He Xinjiu said in puzzlement. Chapter 6037, A Buddha Lotus. Master Wu Zhao had never heard of such a thing. He frowned and asked, is it true? He Xinjiu recounted what had happened in a vivid manner and said, that's not all. I heard that little Buddha lonely showed his Dharma idol in the cloud of the bitter Zen sect. It's a pity that Xian Ji of the bitter Zen sect killed little Buddha lonely. Otherwise, he might have been able to drink the Buddha lotus soup one day. Master Wu Zhao had heard Yin Chang and the other two mention what Yun Chuzhou had said later, so he asked for some details. He Xinjiu immediately started talking. Her words were like the flowers falling from the sky. In the end, she said, Master Wu Zhao, that's why I think that the lotus hasn't gone extinct. Otherwise, where did the little Buddha of loneliness get the lotus? Maybe, after listening to your recitation, the lotus will grow in our lotus pond. Master Wu Zhao could not help but laugh. Almsgiver Yen, although the little lonely Buddha you mentioned can transform into a lotus, it's impossible for a lotus to grow in this lotus pond. That's not necessarily true. Although I don't understand it, I feel that the scripture you recited is not inferior to the little lonely Buddha. Perhaps Buddha will reward us with one when he's happy. Although Master Wu Zhao felt that Yun Chuzhou was exaggerating, he still felt a little lightheaded. The scripture he recited was actually similar to that little lonely Buddha. Just as he was thinking, he heard the little girl next to him scream, quick, quick, look. Master Wu Zhao frowned and thought to himself, why is this little girl so surprised? However, when his eyes followed the direction of her finger, he was so shocked that his mouth was wide open. He saw a golden lotus flower appearing in a pond of smoke and clouds. He rubbed his eyes. This golden lotus flower was exactly the same as the Buddha lotus in the records. Could it be a Buddha lotus? While he was in a daze, He Xinjiu, who was beside him, shouted at the top of her voice, lotus flower. It's a lotus flower. It must be a lotus flower. Master Wu Zhao was shocked. When he was distracted for a moment, he saw the lotus flower fly out of the lotus pond and come straight for him. Master Wu Zhao subconsciously reached out to catch the lotus flower. His mind was blank, and all he could see were the patterns on the golden lotus petals that looked like Sanskrit. Oh my God, it's really a lotus. It's exactly the same as the lotus that little Buddha lonely conjured. Master Wuzhao, you are indeed an eminent monk. The lotus must have appeared because it heard the Buddhist sutras you chanted. No. I have to tell Junior Marshal Nephew Gu and the rest of the good news as soon as possible so that the... Before Master Wuzhao could stop them, He Xinjiu had already told President Gu and the others about the news with her identity jade token. Coincidentally, President Gu had brought Directors Zhao and the others to visit Master Wuzhao. After all, he had been in the lower house for several days, so he should come and have a look. Therefore, in less than 15 minutes, President Gu and the others arrived at the lotus pond. President Gu, come and take a look. Master Wuzhao is indeed an eminent monk. He has been reciting scriptures devoutly these days. The Buddha must be grateful for his devoutness, so he transformed one of the clouds into a lotus. Look, the glittering lotus petals and the Sanskrit patterns on them, especially the calming fragrance. It must be a lotus. Under He Xinjiu's exclamations, President Gu and the others were amazed. They even looked at Master Wuzhao differently. Chapter 60-38 The ownership of the Buddha lotus. Master Wuzhao sensed the adoration in the eyes of President Gu and the others. He felt that he was floating and did not know what to say for a moment. He Xinjiu was full of admiration and curiosity. She asked a series of questions one after another. Master Wuzhao, did you insist on studying the misty cloud pink lotus just to conjure a Buddha lotus? Master Wuzhao, did you receive enlightenment from Buddha before this? Master Wuzhao, after conjuring the Buddha lotus, did you feel that your cultivation had increased? Master Wuzhao held the Buddha lotus in his hand. His mind was blank. How could he answer these questions? After a long while, Master Wuzhao finally recovered from his great surprise. He pinched himself and confirmed that he was not dreaming. Oh God, he had actually seen and touched the Buddha lotus in his lifetime. Most importantly, according to the little girl, the Buddha lotus was created because of his chanting. Was it given to him by Buddha? He Xinjiu expressed her admiration and admiration again. Then, she changed the topic. Master Wuzhao, although the Buddha lotus was created because of your chanting, it grew in the lotus pond of the 10 Directions Academy after all. Therefore, you can't monopolize this lotus. This lotus is at least half of the lotus of the 10 Directions Academy. President Gu and the others immediately felt that what Yun Chujiu said made sense. It was still Uncle Master Yen who was able to stay awake at the critical moment and was almost taken advantage of by this old monk. When Master Wuzhao heard that, although he wanted to monopolize this lotus, he could not deny that what Yun Chujiu said made sense. The lotus indeed came from the lotus pond of the 10 Directions Academy. It was not good to take it away just like that, so he said, President Gu, this lotus is very important to us Buddhists. Can you show mercy and let me bring it back to the 10,000 Buddha's sacred palace? Don't worry, I won't take advantage of it for nothing. We can give you some compensation. President Gu looked at He Xinjiu subconsciously. He Xinjiu said immediately, this lotus is a priceless treasure. It can't be measured with spirit stones. It's a supreme honor for the 10 Directional Academy to have a lotus. How can we give it up just because of a few trifles? How about this, you name your conditions and we'll satisfy you. This lotus should stay in the 10 Directional Academy. President Gu and the others naturally supported He Xinjiu and echoed her. Master Wuzhou's heart turned cold when he heard this. If the 10 Directions Academy did not give in, he would not be able to leave this place. Almsgiver Yen, the lotus is really important to our 10,000 Buddhas. Can you show mercy? Master Wuzhao pleaded. He Xinjiu immediately refused sternly, this is not a matter of face, this is a matter of principle. Although I admire you very much, it is related to the interests of the academy. I will not give in. Master Wuzhao refused to give up. He begged again and again, and almost cried. He Xinjiu sighed, alas. I am too soft-hearted. If I don't agree with you, it will appear that I am too unreasonable. However, as the vice president of the academy, I cannot ignore the academy's interests. How about this? How about cutting the lotus in half? Our family will split it in half. Master Wu Zhao was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. If he cut the lotus in half, would it still be called a lotus? It was not cooking. Hei Xinjiu rolled her eyes and said, I've thought of a way to get the best of both worlds. Why don't we take turns to worship the lotus in the sacred hall of 10,000 Buddhas and the 10 Directions Academy for 3 months? What do you think? Chapter 60-39, heading to the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred palace. Although Master Wu Zhao was reluctant, he had no other choice but to nod his head in agreement. Words have no basis, and words are the basis. Come, President, you will draft the agreement and sign it, Hei Xinjiu said. Soon, President Gu drew up an agreement. Master Wu Zhao and President Gu signed the agreement and put their handprints on it. The agreement was officially effective. Hei Xinjiu was overjoyed. With the agreement of these 3 months, she could not only get in touch with the people of the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred palace, but she could also infiltrate the inner parts of the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred palace. It could be said that it was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Master Wu Zhao, you have contributed the most to this matter. After all, the Buddha would not have rewarded this lotus without you reciting the Buddhist scriptures. So, let's worship it in your 10,000 Buddhas' sacred palace for 3 months first, Yun Chuzhou said generously. Master Wu Zhao immediately thanked her profusely. He couldn't wait to return to the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred hall. He could even imagine how envious and adoring those people were. Master Wu Zhao, if you go back just like that, the people of the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred hall might not believe your words. They might even accuse you of spouting nonsense. How about this? I have nothing to do on my left and right. I will go with you and be your witness. What do you think? Hei Xinjiu said. Then I'll have to trouble you, Benefactor Yen. Master Wu Zhao felt that Hei Xinjiu's words made sense. The matter was of great importance, so those people might not believe him. President Gu and the others were a little anxious. Marshal Uncle Yen, there's no need for you to go personally on this matter. It's the same if we send others. Putting everything else aside, this person was the heart and soul of the 2 grand elders. What if something unexpected happened? Yun Chuzhou waved her hands. How can the others be as trustworthy as me? Besides, I have always been fascinated by the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred hall. It's not bad to take this opportunity to go for a walk. I will tell my 2 masters about this. They won't blame you. Master Wu Zhao felt that Yun Chuzhou was a witness, so she was obviously more trustworthy than the others. He said immediately, don't worry, everyone. I will ensure the safety of Benefactor Yen. I will personally send her back. Now that things had come to this, President Gu and the others could not persuade her anymore. They could only remind Yun Chuzhou to be careful in everything. They also asked Master Wu Zhao to take good care of Hei Xinjiu. Each of them was like an old father who could not bear to part with his own daughter while she was away. President Gu was worried, so in the end, he brought dozens of guards with Hei Xinjiu. He also reminded her to send messages to Yun Yun every day. Master Wu Zhao had goosebumps all over his body. He hurriedly brought Hei Xinjiu out of the lower house. Hei Xinjiu looked at the reluctance and worry on President Gu and the others' faces. Her conscience hurt a little, so she decided to treat them better in the future. Because of Lotus, Master Wuzhou's attitude toward Yun Chuzhou was much better than before. In addition, Hei Xinjiu was deliberately flattering him. Master Wu Zhao felt that he had most likely misunderstood this little girl in the past. In fact, this little girl did not have any schemes and was quite kind. Furthermore, if she had not forced him to chant scriptures to hypnotize her, she might not have been able to materialize this lotus flower. Hence, she had contributed greatly. During their casual conversation, Yun Chuzhou managed to get a lot of information about the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred hall. The current managers of the 10,000 Buddhas' sacred hall were all of the Wu generation. Other than the sect leader, Master Wu Lang, there were also Wu Lu, Wu Yin, Wu Zhou, Wu Zhong, and others. Master Wu Zhao was in charge of managing the library. It was a position that did not have any real power. Usually, it was left to the disciples to manage while he traveled around. Yun Chuzhou thought of the news that she had heard from Director Zhao and the others. The corners of her mouth curled up. If she did not stir up trouble in the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, she did not deserve to be called a troublemaker. Chapter 60-40. Eldest nephews He Xinzhou thought for a moment and said, Master Wu Zhao, you've made a great contribution this time. You will definitely cause a sensation when you return to the 10,000 Buddha's temple. Master Wu Zhao couldn't hide his excitement. Even if he was indifferent to fame and fortune, he was still looking forward to the scene that he was about to face. Master Wu Zhao, it's not that I'm exaggerating, but after this incident, your reputation in the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall might be even higher than that of Master Wu Lang. Perhaps in the future, everyone in the world might not know who Master Wu Lang is, but they might know who you are, Master Wu Zhao. Master Wuzhou's face showed a hint of pride, but he felt that he had lost his composure and coughed dryly. You're exaggerating a little. Although it's true that it's rare to obtain a lotus flower, it's not as exaggerated as you say. I'm not exaggerating. Think about it. In the future, the lotus flower will have to change locations in 3 months. When that time comes, more and more people will know about it, and your reputation will naturally spread. Master Wu Zhao said a few more modest words, but his heart was a little fluttering. It had been a long time since he felt this fluttering. Master Wu Zhao, it's not that I'm trying to measure the heart of a gentleman with a villain's heart. You said that you've made a great contribution this time. Do you think the other people in the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall will have any ideas? Wu Zhao immediately retorted, you're overthinking it. Welcoming back the Buddha lotus is a grand event for the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall. No one will have any other ideas. That's good, that's good. It seems that I'm overthinking it. But it's true. The 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall are all eminent monks who have attained the Tao. There are no twists and turns in the secular world, He Xinzhou said somewhat embarrassedly. Master Wu Zhao didn't take it seriously. He thought that Yun Chuzhou was doing it for his own good, so he changed the topic and talked about other things. The journey was very smooth. The flying spiritual device landed outside the mountain gate of the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall. The 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall was magnificent and was several times bigger than the Zen sect. Master Wu Zhao had sent a message to sect Master Wu Lang in advance. After all, Yun Chujia's seniority was here. Even without considering her seniority, she couldn't neglect her position as the Vice Dean of the 10 Directions Academy. Therefore, after Yun Chuzhou got off the flying spiritual device, there were already people waiting for her at the mountain gate. Although sect leader Wu Lang did not come personally to welcome her, the few who came were all masters of the Wu generation, so it was enough to give her face. Master Wu Zhao introduced Yun Chuzhou to everyone and then introduced her in turn. When she introduced Wu Lu, Yun Chuzhou looked at him a few times without batting an eyelid. This Wu Lu was the person who had asked the Zen sect to imprison her parents, so she naturally had to take a good look at him. Wu Lu was tall and had a fierce look on his face. He looked at Yun Chuzhou with a hint of contempt. Yun Chuzhou did not show any unusual behavior. She said with a smile, Dear nephews, I came in a hurry and did not prepare any greeting gifts for you. You won't mind, right? Wu Lu and the others were stunned at first, and then their expressions changed. This little girl really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Although she did have a high seniority, she should not be so boastful. It was really displeasing. Wu Lu snorted and said, Almsgiver Yen, the seniority of the 10 Directions Academy cannot be mixed with that of our 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall. Please mind your words. Yun Chuzhou was a little unhappy at once. I also mean well. Calling you my nephew, isn't it kind? If you don't want to, then forget it. Anyway, I don't lack nephews. Wu Lu and the others seeing that the situation was a little awkward, Master Wu Zhao quickly said, Benefactor Yen, please come in. Chapter 6041 Apologizing. Yun Chujio did not stand on ceremony. She immediately walked in front with her hands behind her back, like a little rooster with its tail up. Oh, a little hen. Wu Lu and the others' expressions became even more unsightly. However, they were guests. Moreover, even if they did not want to admit it, Yun Chujio's seniority was indeed one generation higher than theirs, so they could only bear with it and follow behind. The 10,000 Buddha sacred hall was covered by clouds and mist. Previously, Yun Chujio could only vaguely see the outline of the flying spirit tool. After entering the mountain gate, she couldn't help but be shocked. Every blade of grass, every tree, every stone, and every house could all see the deep heritage of the 10,000 Buddha sacred hall. Inside the divine sense, Buddha's candle shouted excitedly, the psyche power here is much stronger than that of the Zen sect. Think of a way to stay here for a few more days so that I can eat my fill. Yun Chujio, eat, eat, eat. All of them were fucking foodies. They met some disciples of the 10,000 Buddha's temple on the way and retreated to the side of the road quietly. They put their palms together and waited for the crowd to pass before they left. Hei Shinjo thought to herself, TSK, TSK. These monks are quite polite. However, the guy narrowed his eyes when he saw three of the monks. The three monks were Yin Cheng, Yin Zhao, and Yin Su, who had been to the bitter Zen sect before. Hei Shinjo had always been a vengeful person. Now that she had an opportunity, she would not let it go. When the guy walked to the three of them, he staggered and almost fell down. He was immediately infuriated. How dare you? How dare you plot against me? My dear nephews, masters, is this how the 10,000 Buddha's temple treats guests? Wu Lu immediately frowned and said, Almsgiver Yen, they have been obediently standing aside. Why would they plot against you? Wu Lu, master, what do you mean by that? I'm already an adult. How can I trip my own feet? It's obvious that the three of them are jealous of my young success, my country-toppling beauty, and my outstanding talent. That's why they are secretly plotting against me. Of course, it was also possible that the 10,000 Buddha's temple didn't like the 10 Directions Academy, so they attacked me, Hei Shinjo said with a cold smile. Master Wu Zhao saw that Yun Chujio was getting more and more ridiculous. He was afraid that the matter would blow up, so he said to Yun Chujio, Almsgiver Yen, there must be a misunderstanding. No matter what, you are an honored guest. The three of them should apologize for offending you. Yin Cheng, Yin Zhao, and Yin Su, why aren't the three of you apologizing? They had clearly done nothing, so what right did they have to apologize to this smelly girl? However, since Master Wu Zhao had spoken, they couldn't disobey him, so they reluctantly apologized. Master Wu Zhao thought that this matter would be over, but he didn't expect Yun Chujio to shake her head. Then, she looked at Master Wu Zhao and the others with hesitation. The look in her eyes made Master Wu Zhao and the others feel uncomfortable, as if they were embarrassed to tell them that their wife had been cheated on. Wu Lu said unhappily, Benefactor Yen, just say what you want to say. There's no need to hide it. Yun Chujio sighed and said, this is originally a matter of your 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, so I can't say anything. But since I've encountered it, I can't pretend that I didn't see it. In our secular world, this junior's name cannot be repeated with the elder's name. But this Yin Zhao and Master Wu Zhao's names are actually the same, which really surprised me. When Master Wu Zhao and the others heard Yun Chujio's words, they were all stunned. It was different from the secular world. In the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, they would only pay attention to the first word of seniority. They didn't pay much attention to the last word. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.